John Schaefer. Nevada now has 190 cases of the coronavirus after 33 more tests came back positive, including another from Nellis Air Force Base. Base officials say 7 people there have tested positive. Almost 3/4 of Nevada's positive cases of COVID-19 have been in the Las Vegas area. The death count remains at 2. Nevada's governor announced the formation of a task force to marshal private resources to help the state fight the coronavirus. Governor Steve Sisolak said the challenge of fighting the virus requires some out-of-the-box approaches, and that's why he formed the task force. Sisolak appointed former MGM Resorts International Chief Executive Jim Urin as leader of the group. Urin led MGM from 2008 to last month when he stepped down as chairman and chief executive. The Senate has hit a roadblock while working on a massive virus economic rescue package.
The Senate voted against advancing the nearly $2 trillion bill, with Chuck Schumer's Democrats arguing it's partly a slush fund for big corporations,
with no protections for workers,
whom he says need the most help right now, along with healthcare workers. GOP Chief Mitch McConnell warns Democrats their vote is costing more American jobs.
Our nation cannot afford the game of chicken.
President Trump says they will come together.
To me, it's not very complicated. We have to help the worker. We have to save the companies.
More of which are laying off workers as the virus death toll rises. Stock futures dropped sharply even as the president spoke yesterday evening. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Lake Mead is closing more areas to curb visitation and encourage social distancing. Effective today, the park will suspend major visitor services and operations to comply with the updated guidelines provided by the Nevada Health Response Team. While parking areas and roads will be closed to vehicles, park facilities will be closed, including restrooms, public beaches and picnic areas, marina operations, campgrounds, and all launch ramps. Red Rock National Conservation Area has also closed indefinitely. The Tokyo Olympic Committee says the Games are on, but almost surely in 2021 rather than in 4 months from now as planned.
This became clear after the International Olympic Committee announced Sunday it was considering a postponement because of the coronavirus. Canada says it won't send athletes unless the Games are held next year, and Matt Carroll, head of Australia's Olympic Committee, says it's the right call.
We have to look after not only just our athletes and officials, but also their families who would feel concerned for their sons and their daughters.
Pressure has been mounting on the IOC not to hold the Games this summer. Japan has more than 1,700 coronavirus cases, including 712 from a cruise ship with at least 43 deaths. I'm Julie Walker.
With a check on our weather, here's News 3's Chloe Beardsley.
Rain showers are on tap this morning in southern Nevada, along with mountain snow. In Las Vegas, skies will go from cloudy with light rain to mostly sunny by the afternoon with high temperatures around 66 degrees. Get more updates from News 3, your weather authority.
Partly cloudy, 54 in Las Vegas. I'm John Schaefer on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDON, Las Vegas only FM News Talk station. Time now for a check on the roads.
From the Letterman Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Emergency crews on scene for a rollover crash that happened on the southbound 95 at the Spaghetti Bowl on the transition ramp to northbound I-15. Expect heavy delays or bail from the 95 and take a Surface Street alternate. Also, an accident reported on Blue Diamond westbound at Tacoma Road and an injury crash on Tropicana at I-15. Police and fire were the scene. Home is more than a house. It's the feeling of open roads and blue skies. Rocket Mortgage has helped millions of Americans finance the home of their dreams, and they can help you too. Rocket Mortgage. Push button, get mortgage. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
It's open enrollment season, and Medishare is the Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google Medishare and see if it's a fit for you. Medishare, healthcare you can believe in.
I'm Jim Snyder.
And I'm Marie Mortera. We want to thank you for making News 3 your #1 choice for news.
Every weeknight at 11, you can count on us to have the big story of the day.
Plus breaking news that matters to you.
Jim Snyder and Marie Mortera. News 3 live at 11.
Hi, Doug Basham here. Join me Saturday afternoons from 2 to 4, and I'll tell you what your conservative, corporate-controlled, right-wing propaganda hate media isn't. You're welcome. That's Saturday afternoons, 2 to 4. Be there.
We've always had villains to face.
But you are the most horrible of all. We all have the power to do something.
To stand up to cancer.
Stand up to fight. Stand up to win. Visit standuptocancer.org to learn more.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
No money down to file a bankruptcy? At Fair Fee Legal Services, you can file a bankruptcy for no money down. Keep your car, your house, and everything you own. Stop paying those high-interest credit cards and payday loans. Fair Fee Legal Services will file your bankruptcy for $799 or no money down. Get your life back for no money down.
Debt-free, carefree, finally free with Fair Fee. FairFeeLegalServices.com. 702-703-3333.
Listen to the Texas Corners Bible Church every Saturday night at 11 p.m. and Sunday night at 10 p.m. on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
There are good numbers.
A 1,600 on my SAT.
There are bad numbers.
We're looking at about a 2-hour flight delay.
And if your business doesn't have the right HR solution, it's easy to see people as numbers. Thankfully, there's Insperity. With Insperity, your employees can have access to more competitive benefits, and you can streamline your payroll process, retain top talent, and more. So instead of feeling like a number, your employees will always be at their best. Learn more at Insperity.com. Insperity, HR that makes a difference.
The new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right. All right. What's up, everybody? It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Monday. We are broadcasting live from my kitchen once again, and glad you could be with us. And by the way, if you don't believe I'm broadcasting live, well, all you have to do is watch our YouTube, the Vegas Take page. That's where we broadcast live every day. So we are here. We are live to bring you the latest information on the coronavirus, and we got a big show lined up for you today. Obviously, we're going to get to some of our guests coming up in hour number 3. We'll be speaking to Carl Goldman. This is the man from California who was diagnosed with the coronavirus, got it on the Princess cruise several months back, and we've had him on the show. Well, he's been released now. Let out back into the wild, so to speak. He's going to be joining us in hour number 3 just to talk about the trials and tribulations and everything that he's had to go through. So a lot to get to, a lot to go over. Certainly, we will get to Donald Trump and his response, things he's been saying in his administration over the last couple of days. And even Dr. Fauci was asked a little bit about some of Donald Trump's statements that he's made that have not been factual. And Fauci did respond, and he responded in the right way. So we'll get to that coming up in hour number 2. I always say this. Not always, but I've said this over the course of the last week when we were broadcasting last week. This show is about you. So we're certainly going to be opening up the phone lines a little bit later in the show. We're going to be taking your calls. I just want to speak from my own perspective real quickly. I moved to Las Vegas from Connecticut pretty close to 20 years ago. And the reason why I did that, well, there was a lot of reasons. I got a job in radio. That was obviously the main reason. But I hated living in Connecticut. And the reason why I hated living in Connecticut is because everything closed. I was a kid in my early 20s. I wanted some excitement. I wanted some fun. You hear the word Las Vegas, the first thing that enters your mind when you're in your early 20s is fun, right? It's an adult playground. So I moved out here because I wanted to get away from Connecticut. I wanted to get away from the boringness, for lack of a better term, that is Connecticut. It's a pretty, city that I grew up in, a nice state to raise a family. But it wasn't for me. And that's why I moved out here, because I love the excitement of this city. Well, there is literally, and I mean literally, nothing to do in this city but stay at home and watch TV. You can't go to a movie. You can't go to a restaurant unless you're picking something up. You certainly can't go to a casino. You can't go to a show. There is literally nothing open. So what did I do this weekend? Day in the life of Brian Shapiro. What did I do the first weekend where there's literally nothing to do? Well, Friday night, went over to a friend's house and watched a little Curb Your Enthusiasm. Just watched a bunch of TV, went home, took care of some things at the house. And then on Saturday, I noticed that there was going to be some live sumo wrestling. That's what I watched. I went over to Chris Wynn's house, friend of the show, and we were watching some sumo wrestling because it was the only live sports that was on TV. You actually could have bet on it, too, which I didn't know. So we're watching some sumo wrestling, which, by the way, I've never watched before. I mean, I've watched a few videos on YouTube, but I've never watched a live sumo wrestling match, either in person or on television, and this was live on TV. So that was my Saturday night. And then we decided to, after one of the sumo fights, me and Chris, we decided to take a trip to 7-Eleven. It was either that or the supermarket. Those were the only two places that were open. So we go to 7-Eleven. I wanted to get a Slurpee, so I got a Slurpee, a couple other things. We got some snacks, and I'm talking to the clerk. And as I walk into the 7-Eleven, I see the slot machines are all closed. They're not on. So I'm talking to the clerk, and the clerk says to me, "Hey guys, how's it going? You're my first customers we've had in an hour," which surprised me a little bit because I would think if they're one of the few places that's open, you would go to 7-Eleven. And he said, it looks like I'm going to be losing my job. And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, what the governor's trying to do, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to shut down these 24/7 places and close us down at 10 p.m. and work, do these normal hours like they're doing with the supermarkets." And I said, "Well, the reason why they're closing the supermarkets, it was my understanding, it's because nobody was making them do it. It's because they needed to restock." But this guy, and I don't know if this is true or not, but he told me he heard from the grapevine that, from the Slurpee grapevine, so to speak, that they're trying to close down these 24/7 places to just normal business hours. And I'm in the 7-Eleven, and then two cops show up. And they say, "Hey, we're looking for this guy, blah, 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 blah." I guess a suspect that had committed a robbery. And you look at downtown, and you look at some of these businesses downtown, particularly some of these casinos, they're all boarded up like there's a hurricane coming. And the reason why they're doing that is they're trying to protect themselves from looters, people that are going to go into their stores and rob them or just break in. I shouldn't say rob because there's going to be nobody there, but rob them when there's nobody there. And it's crazy. It's crazy. Again, we're looking at the Las Vegas Strip, one of the biggest tourist attractions, and it has been for decades on the planet. And all these casinos are closed. And it's not just the casinos. You think about the gambling aspect of this. It's not just the gambling. There's a lot of restaurants and the entertainment and all the businesses that are inside these casinos and outside these casinos. It is a ghost town. And this isn't, somewhere in the middle of the country. This isn't some weird city where population, 5,000. This is Las Vegas. I mean, I'm driving down one of the biggest intersections on the planet, which would be Flamingo and Las Vegas Boulevard, and there's nobody there. And it's really freaky, and it's really weird. And this all comes at a time where we lose one of the most famous musicians, in the history of this country. And hopefully you all know who I'm talking about because the song "The Gambler" is probably one of my favorite gambling songs of all time. Of course, I'm talking about the late, great Kenny Rogers. Obviously, there it is.
As if things couldn't get worse.
Know when to run. Yeah, this guy's awesome. But on a normal day, or I should say a normal week, this would be an enormous story, right? I mean, I'm not going to say it's like losing Michael Jackson or Prince, but the guy's pretty close. He's pretty much up there. And if you're listening to that song, Kenny left it. I mean, we had a joke that we said, there's nothing funny about, losing Kenny Rogers, but, somebody said a joke off the air and said, well, he knew when to go because he left before the apocalypse was going to hit us, But this would have been an enormous story if not for the coronavirus, because Kenny Rogers is a legend, similar to, when Tom Petty died, so on and so forth. He's right up there. He's a Hall of Famer. And then I listened to that song, "The Gambler," which is a legendary song. And I'm thinking to myself, there's nobody gambling unless you have some home game going right now. There's nobody playing poker. There's nobody gambling.
Well, I mean, theoretically, you're gambling when you go to the store right now, Brian.
Well, to an extent.
You're gambling with your life.
Every time I've gone to the store, I've gotten those wipes as I walk out.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm not a germaphobe. Clearly, if you look at my apartment, you'll know I'm not a germaphobe. But, I've gone to the gas station, the supermarket. Every time I do that, I'm washing my hands when I get home because I think that's a really important thing to do. But, guys, we are living in unprecedented times. I don't need to tell you that. These are really weird times in this country, really weird times here in Las Vegas. So I'm wondering, how is anybody handling this from a psychological standpoint? For me, I'm going crazy. I'm going crazy because I have ADD to begin with, but I'm the type of person that likes to go out a lot. And when I say go out, I'm not saying get drunk and go out and go to the nightclubs. I've never been that person. But when I say go out, I like going out with someone to dinner. I like going to movies. I do like playing poker once in a while. I just like being out and doing things.
He enjoys being seen in a public place with an attractive woman 2 or 3 times a week.
Well, that's part of it.
No, that's definitely a large part of it.
I'll tell you something. If you're dating someone or you're on one of these dating apps and you've never met that girl before or it's very early, you can't take somebody out to dinner. You can't say, hey, let's go see a show. The only option, and to a lot of scumbags out there, they would normally ask this under regular conditions, but they'd say, come to my apartment, right? Well, what else can you do? Take a walk? I guess you could do that. I guess you could be creative and say, let's go to the park and have a picnic. But other than that, I'm not sure what else you can do.
You can't go to Red Rock anymore, and you can't go to Lake Mead anymore. Both those have just been shut down.
Right.
Why was it was shut down? Red Rock was shut down because too many cars, too many people were trying to go to the park.
I mean, I really have no idea.
I think that's what ended up happening. It just was too many people.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because speaking of too many people, what about these beaches in Florida? Okay, what about the governor of Florida who continues to leave these beaches open so these morons could just flock the beaches? A lot of these young people that were on spring break, they don't care. And you know what? They should be mocked because they're putting everybody at risk. This is a very serious situation. So I ask once again, what is wrong with the governor of Florida? Why did he not shut down these beaches? I also ask these things. If you have to be consistent, and we've talked about consistency on this show. If you're shutting down casinos and stuff, why is the president saying it should be a state-by-state matter and it should be, the whole country should be shut down? It's either the whole country shut down or it's not. I'm tired of this stuff where certain states are on martial law and then certain states are not. It doesn't make any sense to me. Be consistent. Let the whole country do it or not. It's one or the other.
That comes down to the viruses in that particular state. Like, for example, New York State has roughly, I think, 17 or 18,000 cases, and about 15,000 of those are in New York City. And that makes up about 42 to 43% of all the confirmed coronavirus cases in the United States. So in those particular places, obviously that's going to take place. But if there aren't a lot of cases so far, and that could be because of a lack of testing for a number of reasons. But if there's not a lot of cases in that state or that city so far, that's not going to take place. And I find that to be a little bit reasonable.
Well, here's why I don't find it reasonable, because there's no law that says you can't drive from one state to another. So all those people in New York, anybody could drive to another state. Right. Now, if there were...
And that's been a conversation as of late, too. Because the conversation amongst New Yorkers has been, should we leave the state? Should we get out of New York City? And if that takes place, you're literally looking at a situation where the National Guard is actually taking control of the border.
But it's too late now.
Which would echo the movie Contagion, which I'm sure everybody has watched now that it's on Netflix and Amazon Prime.
And the reason why I say it's too late now, and I know the president likes to brag about what he did with China and not allowing people in that country to enter the United States. It was too late then, and it's too late now. Same thing applies to this situation. If you're going to, I'm not going to use the term hold people hostage because I think they're doing the right thing. But if you're going to make it martial law like they did in California, if you're going to make it martial law like they did in Connecticut, do it everywhere and be consistent. This is going to get worse. And our politicians are failing us. And we're going to get to the national response coming up in hour number 2. But I'm talking about locally right now. I understand that the governor and the mayor do not see eye to eye on a lot of things. But I'm telling you, this is a serious situation. It's getting worse, and I can't stand it when people compare it to the flu. I can't stand it when people say, oh, it's no different than the flu, because look at the mortality rate of the flu, and look at the mortality rate right now of the coronavirus. They're not comparable.
I'll actually push back on that, Brian. There's roughly 46,000 confirmed cases in the United States. And I believe, 39,000 confirmed cases in the United States and roughly 460 deaths. The mortality rate as it sits is about 1.2%.
Which is much higher than the flu.
Now you're not factoring the fact in that we have no idea when this virus came to the United States. We don't know how long it's been circulating.
No, we sort of have an idea.
No, we actually
yes,
don't.
we do.
It could have. A lot of people have had these symptoms.
There are a lot of professionals
back in December, back in January. Brian, what I'm saying is this virus could have been here for quite some time. There could be people in the United States right now that are immune to it that do not know it. And if the conversation that, like, for example, the governor of Ohio said that he thinks he had 100,000 cases 2 weeks ago. Let's say right now that there's because a lot of people have not been tested, right? That's the whole worry. Let's say there's 200,000 confirmed cases in the United States as of right now, and 465 deaths. Do you know what that translates to a mortality rate?
But here's the problem with
it's
what you're
actually
saying.
less deadly than the flu at that point. The problem is we don't know how many people actually have. No, it is true.
Dr. Fauci was on national television yesterday, and Dr. Fauci said that no matter what happens down the road, no matter what happens, there is no question that this virus is far more serious and will kill more people, and the mortality rate will be much higher than the flu has ever been. That is what Dr. Fauci said. This is a guy who's been doing this for his entire life. I'm going to listen to what he says, and to me, that is the main reason why we're in the situation we're in now, as far as all these businesses being in lockdown. It's the reason why we're broadcasting our show from my apartment. Okay? That's why. That's why these casinos are shut down. People need to understand that. Now, you could look at it and say, well, it's not as bad as people think. It's just not true, man. And when you listen to the professionals that are talking about this virus, not Donald Trump, not politicians, I'm talking about the doctors, the people that know. And Dr. Fauci, make no mistake about it, he knows. At least he has a lot more answers than we do. He said it himself. The mortality rate will not be comparable to the flu, and he said it is very dangerous to compare the flu to the coronavirus. They are not comparable, and the coronavirus is far more serious and will have, when it's said and done, a far higher deadly rate than the flu. I think that's very, very important to convey to the American people. Here's why. If you keep downplaying this virus, you're going to continue to have these idiots on these beaches in Florida. You're going to continue to have these idiots that'll have parties of 50 people or more. You're going to continue to have these idiots, some of which continue to remain their business open, whether that be a restaurant, not just for to-go orders. And that is why I've heard that they're trying to put into effect some sort of laws in this state that would not allow you, just what they're doing in California, Connecticut, those other states, to open, or you can get arrested or cited. There are people that are downplaying this virus, and they continue to downplay the virus. Let me tell you something. Even a week ago, Ron Paul, a week ago, said that this was a hoax. He wrote an article, and then we learned a couple days ago his son has the coronavirus. Those people are ignorant. And by the way, speaking of Rand Paul, who now has the coronavirus, who tested positive, the morning he found out he got the virus, he decided to work out in the Senate gym. In the Senate gym and in the Senate pool. He decided, you want to talk about irresponsible? That is like finding out you have AIDS and having unprotected sex with a woman and not telling her. It is a crime.
And the only reason that he knew he had the virus, he was asymptomatic. He didn't have any symptoms of it. He wasn't feeling unwell, but he had traveled internationally, and they were worried that he had possibly been in contact with someone with the virus.
Which I understand. And I'm glad he was tested. But, JD, do you understand my point?
What I'm saying is, Brian, there are a lot of people across the United States. Could be some in Nevada, could be quite a few in California, Washington, New York City, or New York State that don't know they have this virus, but they have this virus, and this virus will not give them any symptoms at all. There's a lot of people across the country, and
that's what makes it more dangerous.
I'm not suggesting that it doesn't, and whatever that number is, that does drop the mortality rate.
And I understand partly of what you're saying, but again, Dr. Fauci says even if that mortality rate does drop, and he talked about that, it's still going to be a higher mortality rate than the flu. It's more serious than the flu. And by the way, speaking of Rand Paul, this is the same idiot who voted against the 9/11 fund for those 9/11 heroes to give them the care they need. And now this is the moron who's now in quarantine. The morning of finding out that he had the virus, he was working out in the Senate gym. But anyway, let's move on. I don't even want to talk about Rand Paul because that guy is such a moron. I mean, it's such a moron. And then we move on, and this is why I say it's important not to downplay the virus. There are idiots throughout the country that are taking advantage of people and throughout the world. A man made fake coronavirus treatment kits. He's now in jail, taking advantage of people. There's a man in court that is accused of trying to sell these fake coronavirus treatments kits, and it's happening around the world. He's not the only person. There was a man in a Walmart who went on Facebook Live, thought it was funny to say that he has the coronavirus. He said, I got the coronavirus. I got the coronavirus. There's a video of it. It was on TMZ. It was all over the web. He was arrested. You can't do things like that. There are people that are trying to make light of this situation. There's a South Carolina man that was charged with a fake doctor note saying that he had the coronavirus. Why? I have absolutely no idea. The point being, there are people throughout the country that are taking advantage of people, and we'll get to Wayne Allen Root coming up in the next segment because he was on our show on Friday, and we had a very interesting discussion, to say the least.
No, Brian, you completely dismantled him. I mean, it was a very, very good interview on your behalf. He was not prepared, and he basically lost his cool on the airwaves.
Yeah, if you don't know who this guy is, Wayne Allen Root, he's a guy that does a radio show outside of Vegas, syndicated host, used to work for the Review Journal. We're going to get to the fallout of our interview and the fact that some people, and Wayne Allen Root, to be fair, he's not the only one that's pushing some of these silver products, alkaline products. You know, there are others that have done the exact same thing, and the Attorney General of New York is now involved. We'll get to that coming up in the next segment. We have a Florida commissioner who's also making public statements and pushing these types of products. We'll get to that coming up next. The point I'm trying to make is there are people in these difficult times. Don't get me wrong. There are many people that are heroes, that are doing great things, that are helping people. There's no question about that. There are some great people out there. But there are also some people out there that are taking advantage of us. They're taking advantage of maybe less fortunate people, maybe people that are not making the best decisions, but they're taking advantage of us.
They're trying to capitalize off of those particular situations. Then you have people that just want the views. They just want to make a video where they're pretending to have the coronavirus, and they have all these different symptoms, and they get all this Facebook attention and all this Twitter attention, and that's all just predicated on social media, just wanting that attention. And so you have both sides that are taking place.
But my point is, it's important for all of us to be responsible and not downplay this virus. Now, especially if you're elderly or you know someone that's elderly or you have family members, I'm very concerned about my family. My parents are not young. I'm very concerned about them. My dad was playing golf yesterday. I said, Dad, I give him a call. He's like, Brian, I'm on the golf course. I said, wait a second. I thought the whole state was in government lockdown. He said, well, I called the golf course and they're open. I don't blame my dad. I blame the golf course. That's irresponsible.
But for your dad, that's a peace of mind. That's something he's done his entire life.
Well, he's getting away from my mom.
Exactly.
That's the peace of mind.
And that matters, Brian. I mean, I was around my 2-year-old daughter for more than I've ever been around her in the last 4 days. I mean, just constantly. I mean, 24/7. And I definitely did, like, this right now for me is a break. And
do you think it challenges
and that same perspective? Oh, yeah. This right now,
challenging relationships around the world.
This challenges marriages, especially in a place like New York State.
I'm not married, so I don't know.
Where 100% of people who don't have who don't have jobs, essential jobs, are literally they're forced to stay at home. You have close living quarters. You have maybe a 900 because it's so expensive to live there. So places where it's very expensive to live, then you're around your wife. You're around each other. Your kid is there. If you have maybe you have one, maybe you have two, maybe you have three, all day long. Plus, and then when you need a release, you've got no sports. You can't go to the gym. You can't go to the salon. You can't hang out with your friends. It's going to challenge a lot of relationships across the United States, and I'm excited to see what the metrics are. It's kind of interesting from a socio economic perspective, kind of how everything works out, and what the childbirth rate will be in the next 9 months, as well as the divorce rate.
Well, I think the divorce rate is certainly going to go up. I think the coronavirus is going to make the divorce. Here's something else.
On the downside of things, domestic abuse is up quite a bit as well.
Yes, and that's horrible. That's unfortunate. Speaking of marriages, the wedding chapels are forced to close down as well, which makes a lot of sense to me. Imagine if you lost a family member and then you were told you can't have more than 10 people at your funeral for your father or mother. I mean, it's just awful. All right, we're going to take a quick break. So when we come back, we had a very fiery interview with syndicated right-wing conspiracy theorist talk show host Wayne Allen Root. There's been a lot of fallout since that interview, and when I say fallout, not on us, on him. I'll explain what that means coming up next, and we'll take a quick break, and we'll also open up the phone line, 702-257-5396. Again, that number, 702-257-5396. Take a break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take.
For the ones who forge metal and those with nerves of steel. For the ones who burn the midnight oil and the ones who rise with the sun. Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, with over 250 local branches and a team of specialists available 24/7 to help you solve any challenge. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I was 9 when I lost my leg to bone cancer. I had a 50% chance to live. After chemotherapy treatments at my children's hospital and the amputation, I had beaten the odds. But would I ever be as active as I once was? Fast forward 20 years, I've competed in the Paralympics and now play on the U.S. amputee soccer team. Help kids live their dreams just like me. Put your money where the miracles are. Give to your Children's Miracle Network Hospital.
More states are telling non-essential workers to stay home as they see the numbers of new coronavirus cases rise. The Federal Reserve says it will buy debt and offer loans to keep people employed. More from correspondent Julia Chatterley.
If borrowers, if corporates, and if small and medium-sized enterprises take this money, they will hold on to their employees. So the hope is that it stops some of the immediate flows and redundancies, the firings that we're seeing.
Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell blames Democrats for holding up a $2 trillion national stimulus package.
Even with the Federal Reserve announcing even further extraordinary steps today, the markets are tanking once again, as I said, because this body can't get its act together. And the only reason it can't get its act together is right over here on the other side of the aisle.
On the other side, Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says a deal is now close. The Dow down 585. I'm Mike Moore.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Letterman Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance, where you only pay for what you need. A rollover crash on the 95 southbound at the Spaghetti Bowl on the transition ramp to 15 northbound. That is now off to the side, no longer blocking the through lanes, but expect slowing if you're using that ramp. Also a crash with injuries reported on Cheyenne Avenue at Decatur Boulevard. And police and fire with the scene of a crash injury sustained reported Eastern Avenue at Desert Inn Road. Did you know Liberty Mutual lets you customize your coverage so you only pay for what you need? Some did not. Liberty Mutual Insurance. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Can a tree change a life? At Trees for the Future, we believe trees make all the difference in the fight against poverty, hunger, and climate change. Through a proven permaculture method called the Forest Garden Approach, Trees for the Future has positively impacted over 26,000 farmers and their children. Are you ready to leave a lasting impact on the world? Find out how to plant seeds of hope this season at trees.org/radio. That's trees.org/radio.
If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes, you need a new start. Our New Start program will stop collection efforts, remove any liens the IRS has in place, and help you reduce your back taxes by as much as 80%. That's right, 80%. Call 1-800-312-9970. Let the professionals at Coast One Financial Group fight to get you the new start you deserve. If you owe at least $10,000 to the IRS and need a new start on your back taxes, call 1-800-312-9970.
Coronavirus has brought significant disruption to daily life here in Las Vegas, and we here at KDON want you to stay safe, but at the same time, we want you to help these local businesses in our communities thrive. At KDON, we've set up Operation Gift Card to help local restaurants, bars, and businesses who offer gift cards on their websites. To find out how to purchase gift cards from these great businesses and more, visit our website at kdwn.com and search Operation Gift Card. Remember, we are all in this together.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Yeah, we're doing it. We're broadcasting live from my apartment in quarantine. But we're going to try to bring you the latest information and the best information that we can on this show. And I also mentioned this show is also about you, and that's the reason why we're doing this. It's about you. So we certainly want to hear from you, and we'll try to take some phone calls here in a few minutes. That number is 702-257-5396. Again, 257-5396. Many of you, I would imagine, are home. You might be streaming. You might not be in your car. So we are also, besides the KDWN website, we're also streaming live on our YouTube page, The Vegas Take, if you want to check us out there as well. So Friday, if you were listening to the show, you listened to a very intense interview with a nationally syndicated radio host out of Vegas who many call a right-wing conspiracy theorist. I think that's very fair to call him that. And I had talked about him the day before, and I said some not-so-nice things about him, and the reason why I did that is because he was peddling a silver alkaline product. And we've heard from every somebody that actually knows something about the coronavirus, the Food and Drug Administration, all types of different departments across the country saying this does not only cure the coronavirus, there's no evidence in this country to support the fact that it does anything to help you if you have the coronavirus. So he was peddling that product. Whether he was getting paid for it or not is not the point. The point is he tweeted out kills virus in talking about the coronavirus. That is dangerous, okay? There's a problem with that I had, and that's why I called him out last week on Thursday. So he wanted an apology from me. He reached out to some people and wanted an apology from me, and I told our producer, okay, if I said some things that bothered him, I have no problem with apologizing to him on the air. The only condition is come on the show so I could defend why I was so frustrated, and I could go over some of the comments that he's made in the past that were very controversial that he's never apologized for. For example, he's tweeted on his page. He's also said on his show that the use of the N-word is the same as calling somebody old. I called him out on that, and he doubled down on it. Now, only a fool would say that. Only a fool would say calling somebody old or an old geezer or whatever is the same as calling somebody the N-word. It's ridiculous. He also said that he believed Muslims were the cause for the October 1 shooting here. And then when I asked him to apologize, because clearly he's wrong, he put the fault on police officers who allegedly texted him the day of. Completely irresponsible. If you make a mistake, apologize for it. He said that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton have had gay relationships. His response was a laugh, and then I said, how would you like it if somebody said that about you? Then he called me some names. All I was doing was questioning him on the things that he said, the horrible and ridiculous things that he said over the course of his career. That's all I did. And then he started to call me names. And this man has said, and another example I'll give out, is if somebody says something ridiculous, have some sort of facts on a basis of an opinion. And what he said was that Democrats were getting paid by Mexican drug lords because of the border wall situation. And then I said to him, okay, if that's your opinion, that's fine, right? But can you give me one specific example of one Democrat that has been paid off? And he said, I don't have to give you any examples. Well, if you're not going to give me any examples, then you're no better than Mr. InfoWars himself. So we got into this debate. We got into this, it turned into an argument, and it turned nasty here at the end. And I want to play a little bit of audio. At the end of the interview, that's when he started calling me names. By the way, he started calling me names first in the interview on Friday. So here is a part of my interview towards the end of the interview when things went south between myself and Wayne Allen Root.
You're showing what a nasty, petty person you are, and you got.
Oh, I'm nasty and petty because you can't defend your ridiculous tweets, but I'm the nasty, petty one. Let me tell you something. A nasty, petty person compares the N-word to calling somebody old. That's a nasty, petty person. Do you understand where the N-word came from? Do you understand how hurtful it is to African Americans?
10 minutes ago, but I try to be nice and listen to people, but you don't want it. You have no interest.
Okay, defend any of the tweets. I'm listening. Go ahead.
To find common ground between you and I.
We have zero common ground. Zero.
We were supposed to get along. Your general manager, I'm sure, put pressure on you to apologize, and that's why you called me. And you didn't apologize. You turned it into a vicious attack.
You called me names in this. You called me names in this interview. You called me names in this interview. Would you like to apologize for the names you called me? Then we can part ways.
Clearly.
Okay. Well, you know what? If you want to call me a putz, then I think you're a scumbag.
Okay,
so we're even.
Okay. Brian,
all right? No, it's not okay. If you want to use the courts and you want to sue me for calling you a scumbag, go ahead.
See you later, buddy.
Go ahead and sue me. Yeah, what a jerk. Yeah, there you go. And he hung up. He is a jerk. I gave him every opportunity in the world to defend his statements, and he couldn't defend any of them.
And that's a problem with kind of having that conspiracy theorist or that alt-right perspective that caters towards people who they could be racist, they could be very over the top in one direction. But when you say, because you kind of have to say things like that to really appease to your fan base, but then when you go on a show and you get questioned on those things, if you go back on them and say, well, I was wrong at the time, or I apologize for it, then your fan base goes, wait a minute, is this not real? And then you say, well, I'm just an entertainer, and then you can't. It's really tough to do that as one of those guys who was kind of pandering towards one specific demographic who is looking for that very, very over-the-top, egregious, kind of outlandish perspective.
But look, he said a lot of controversial things in the past, but what is the root, for lack of a better term, of this conversation? Why did it start? It started because he was talking about this silver alkaline product, okay, which any logical human being would say there's no evidence to support the fact that it either kills the coronavirus But let's backtrack a little bit here. After that interview, in the next hour, we received a ton of phone calls. And listen, there's a lot of conservatives that listen to our show, and we appreciate that very much to try to hear both sides of issues. But many of those conservatives called into this show the next hour and said, great interview, good job, you got him. And he was exposed. Well, guess what? Some of those callers said he had just been fired from the Review Journal. And it was true. Wayne Allen Root has written for the Review Journal for years with his articles. A statement from the Review Journal came out which says, increasingly, Mr. Root's advertising, marketing, and other media interests had begun to broadly diverge from the journalistic standards and intentions of the Review Journal. That compelled us to end our relationship with him. We wish him well. And by the way, if you really want to know why they fired him, well, guess what? They were asked, and in response to a follow-up question, Moyer said Root's silver promotions was indeed a factor in the paper's decision. But wait a second, it doesn't start there. It doesn't stop there with the fallout of Wayne Allen Root. It doesn't stop there. Now there are legal ramifications. Wayne Allen Root received a cease and desist letter notification from the Attorney General of New York. Mr. Root, the 2019 coronavirus poses serious consequences to both public health and consumers, and they are concerned as to how they can best protect themselves and their families, right? We're all concerned. Your representations may mislead consumers as to the effectiveness of the above-named product in protecting against the current outbreak. Both the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the World Health Organization have stated that there is no specific medicine to prevent and treat this disease. You are hereby advised to immediately cease and desist from making misleading claims as they violate New York's consumer protection statutes. So I guess if Wayne was on our show right now, which he probably won't be because he's a coward, he'll never come on again. Who's the putz now, Wayne? Who's the putz now? You want to call me a putz? Who's the putz now? You got a cease and desist letter from the Attorney General. You were fired from the Review Journal because you make horrific and terrible comments, and particularly about this coronavirus and this silver alkaline product. I know you want to brag to everybody that you're like, I don't know, I guess you're around 60, but you want to brag how great you look. And by the way, that's debatable, but you said that on the show, bragging about how you're a syndicated talk show host, bragging about your ratings, bragging about everything. Only an insecure little weasel does that sort of stuff. And by the way, I know plenty of people like that who want to brag about how much money they have, but those are the people that are poor. You know, brag. He thinks he's more important than he is. And I'm not going to spend any more time on him because he's pathetic. That's why. I proved him wrong. The Attorney General's got my back. And guess what? So does the Review Journal. I never thought I'd be praising the Review Journal today, but guess what? I am, because they made the right decision, and they know that he's bad news, man. He's bad news. And by the way, he's not the only one who's bad news.
Hey, didn't he start out as a sports handicapper, Brian?
Don't even get me started there.
He did, right?
Don't even get me started there.
That was his first, we'll call it, career.
Yeah, don't even
in Las Vegas.
Don't even get me started.
How did he operate as a sports handicapper?
I'm not even going to comment on that. I'll tell you off the air. I've got some stories that you wouldn't believe.
Was he successful?
I'm not going to comment on it. Like I said, I'm not going to comment on it. I want to stick to this subject. I can tell you some things off the air about his sports handicapping service, but I don't even want to spend any more time on him. Number to call, by the way, 702-257-5396. If you want to be a part of this conversation. What do you think of some of these people that are peddling some of these products with no proof that it cures the virus or can help you in any way with this virus? 702-257-5396. By the way, there's now a local commissioner in Florida who is apologizing after he made statements about possible coronavirus cures. During a meeting on Friday, this commissioner, Culpepper is his name, no relation to Dante, I don't think. Commissioner Culpepper said the doctor on a show said that to kill a virus needs to be exposed to high concentration of heat, about 163 degrees. Okay. He also said that the commissioner then suggested that holding a hairdryer up to one's nose and inhaling through the nose would be the best way to do that. I mean, things that are unsubstantiated.
We have
right?
that sound. All
right, go ahead and
listen
play
to
it.
this fool.
It might sound kind of silly, but being in the medical field that I was as a paramedic, it started to make a lot of sense. One of the things that was pointed out in this interview with one of the doctors, foremost doctors that has studied the coronavirus, says that the nasal passages and the nasal membranes are the coolest part of the body. That's why the virus tends to go there. until it then becomes healthy enough to go into the lungs. Sounds really goofy, and it did to me too, but it works. Once the temperature reaches 136 degrees Fahrenheit, the virus falls apart and it disintegrates, okay? And I said, well, how would you get the temperature up to 132 degrees? The answer was you use a blow dryer because it's capable of doing that. So you hold a blow dryer in front of your face and you inhale with your nose, and it kills all the viruses in your nose. So that sounds like a really simplified way of doing things, but sometimes the cures for some of these diseases are very simple.
Yeah, very, very simple. He went on to say that a pot of water will work also. Have a listen to this.
Also, like if you're worried about it going into your lungs, just that's where it goes and turns into pneumonia. You can also put a pan of water on the stove where it starts to make steam and inhale it. So it sounds almost too easy. But at this point, I think, anything is worth trying. Just want to pass that off because that doesn't cost anything. Most everybody has a blow dryer. Everybody has a stove and can heat water up and can inhale that water. And you can also through your nose, and that also will kill it.
So speaking of inhaling, I'd like to know what this guy's been inhaling over the course of the last week. This nut job. You've done a great job, Florida, in putting this guy in office. I'll tell you that. By the way, since then, he has apologized. He said to all my Facebook friends, I'm heartfully sorry for the comments I made on social media. I was only, by the way, he didn't make the comments on social media. He also made comments.
It was at a meeting.
Yeah, I don't know why he said that. I was only trying to give comfort to those in need and have no insurance to treat their families.
And you should see his fellow commissioners just with their heads in their hands and really like, oh God, here he goes again. And then one, you can't see it. There's one woman on the panel, and she goes, "Oh, all right. Well, we're going to caution people not to read too much into what they see on the news about these cures." I mean, it was a disaster.
He went on to say, I will not offer any more suggestions unless they are tried and proven. Well, I have a suggestion for you. Why don't you go to a psych ward, you freak? He said, I ask for all your forgiveness for anything. And then, of course, he's talked about God. God bless and soften your hearts. Shut up. Just quarantine yourself. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. I have to get my hairdryer because I have to blow the hairdryer up my nose because apparently that will just disintegrate the virus, as he said. 702-257-5396. Go to Mike. Mike, you're first up on the Vegas Take. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Hey, guys. Hey, to quote Ronald Reagan, either you control your government or your government will control you. Okay? Listen, Brian, if somebody wants to try, I see what you're saying, people making, claims about it. But if somebody wants to try something, President Trump signed the right to try bill on something.
That's not what they're saying, Mike. That's not what they're saying. They're not saying you can try something. I wouldn't have as much of a problem with that. You heard what this commissioner just said in Florida. He said it kills the virus. We had Wayne Allen Root on the show Friday, who's peddling a product, who tweeted, kills virus. If they want to tweet, Mike, I have no problem with them saying, hey, maybe try this. I don't know if it'll help you. Worth a try. There's a fine line between saying something like that and then saying it kills the virus. Do you understand that distinction?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but look, like I said before, I'm old enough to remember in this country where there was no such thing as AIDS. It came along in the 70s and 80s. It was a time in this country and the world there was no AIDS. Viruses are going to come. It's a part of it. You're not going to, in your lifetime, new diseases and new viruses are going to come. You cannot freak out and shut the whole world down when something new comes out.
So you think that there should be no government shutdowns and you're okay with the casinos being open right now?
Either you control your government or your government. Listen, it's an excellent article in the Review Journal by Steve Shapiro. Las Vegas is not the town to close down. Listen, you cannot do that here. The economy here is not diversified enough. You have one economy. That's gaming and tourism.
All right, well, let me ask you a question. Would you rather have the economy tank for a little while, or would you rather have a lot of people die?
What we do know, Brian, is only 200-some people have died.
Not true. Not true. First of all right, I appreciate the call, but
479 people have died. 2 have died in Nevada. I will say this about 3 states, California, Washington, and New York, are responsible for nearly 60% of the deaths.
The problem is we can't have misinformation on this show. Over 400 people have died. The problem is more people are going to die. And if you are at a certain age where you contract the virus or you have other health conditions, there's a good chance that this could kill you. And I'm not trying to scare people. I understand, Mike, that you're concerned about the economy, but you know what I'm concerned about before the economy? People and people's lives. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Carl. Carl, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Carl?
Hey, Brian, JD. Listen, the guy, I think, put the hairdryer to his ear and it cooked his brain.
You're probably right, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're near your kitchen, I like my bacon crisp. I just want to let you know.
I'll keep that in mind.
But on the positive side of things, Trump did make a statement on Sunday that when we talked about this last week, but that drug chloroquine mixed with azithromycin, the Z-Pack, where they did the study in France, where they had 30 people, and after 6 days, the virus was completely removed from their system.
And then Dr. Fauci played it down.
No, Brian,
Yes.
Brian, stop.
What do you mean stop? It's true.
First of all, New York State is starting a trial tomorrow.
And there's no evidence to support the fact that it's going to work.
750,000 chloroquine pills.
Because they're desperate.
No, they're not. It has nothing to do with desperation, Brian. They're getting closer to a treatment. They're getting closer.
You don't know that.
And your issue is, and actually this is a very consistent Democratic perspective, your issue is that Donald Trump is backing it.
Donald Trump said he's usually right, and he's giving people hope, and I believe it is false hope. That is the issue that we have.
You don't think that chloroquine and azithromycin together
Here's what I
is
do
going
think.
to help you? You think
Here's
that,
what I do think.
Here, listen to this, Brian. So that study that was done in France, where they had 30 patients, and all 30 of them were cured by the disease in 6 days.
Here's what I
It
do
had a
think.
1 in 10,000 chance of producing the results that it did. Do you understand how aggressive
Let me
that
answer your
data
question.
is?
Here's what I do think. You're not a doctor. I'm not a doctor.
just
Hold on,
saying,
let me
Brian.
finish. Let me finish. You're not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. Donald Trump is certainly not a doctor. You know who is a doctor? Dr. Fauci. Hold on, let me finish.
Are the doctors
Let
in
me
France
finish.
who started that trial, are they doctors?
Let me finish.
Or not?
Let me
Or
finish.
are they just standard
I'm
civilians?
trying to finish my statement. Dr. Fauci is a doctor, and Dr. Fauci all weekend, and by the way, we're going to play some of that and talk about it. Dr. Fauci all weekend has been trying to downplay Donald Trump's comments, saying that there is no specific evidence to support the fact that these drugs are 100% going to work. What he is saying, hold on, what he is saying,
Brian, 100% is not the conversation.
what he is saying is that we're basically, I'm not giving you verbatim, but what I'm doing is generalizing what he said. We're going to give it a try, nothing to lose, but there is no evidence to support that it's going to work, and it is irresponsible. Let's take some more phone
If
calls.
80% of people are treated successfully, then it's obviously working. If 60% of people are treated successfully,
No,
then
there is
it
no evidence to
doesn't
support that.
always have to be. No,
Zero
there is
evidence.
evidence. Brian, there was a
Not in
trial.
this country.
There was a trial done in France. 30 people were given that particular hybrid drug combination, and all 30 of them had the virus.
Then why is
out of,
Dr.
out,
Fauci
out of their
saying that
system
it's going to work?
entirely.
Then why isn't the doctors in this country saying it's going to work?
Because there is not a lot of consistent empirical evidence.
Exactly.
And also, you have an actor. You have two different actors who said that they were also given chloroquine, and it was removed from their system as well. It helped them recover from the virus.
And we don't know if what was given to him helped them cure the virus, or they just the virus left their system like anybody else. We don't know the answer to that. Very dangerous to say that it's going to work when we don't know if it's going to work. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Dwayne. Dwayne, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Dwayne?
Check this out, guys. You know, I drive for Uber and Lyft, okay? And we're out here working, okay? And there's no cabs really out here, okay? So the Uber and Lyft drivers, we're taking a big chance getting exposed, okay? Because we're on 1099.
No question.
We cannot go and get unemployment.
Right.
We have to keep working. So nobody's really giving us anything. All this information that's out here, this drug's going to work, or we got this. You know what? I think they should leave it to the medicals, to the doctors.
Thank you.
To figure it out. Because what happens is you got all these Uber drivers out here, like I said, Lyft drivers, and people out here going, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah.
One guy says this, another guy says that.
Exactly.
So, you know, we sit around, we talk amongst ourselves, and we go, well, you know what? Let's just wait it out. 3 months from now, 4 months from
And
now.
Dwayne, can I just add something? It's sending mixed messages, and for somebody like you, that is, and by the way, thank you for what you're doing, and I appreciate you. For somebody like you who is dealing with a lot of people, picking up a lot of people in your car, You don't want to hear mixed messages, right? You want to hear the same message from the president all the way down. And that's not happening, Dwayne, and that's my issue.
Well, no, it ain't happening because, see, we wipe our cars down every time somebody gets in and out of our car, okay? So we constantly going through more, Lysol. We can't even find Lysol, okay? Because people have just gotten crazy and buy 3 or 4 bottles, or they buy the whole case.
Yeah.
I went into to Walmart to get a can of Lysol spray.
Yeah.
Guess what? Lady had 6 of them in her cart.
That's and people like that are idiots. They really are. They're selfish idiots. Dwayne, thank you for what you do. Thank you for being out there and giving people rides and doing your good work. I'm sorry that you're put in a situation where you're in fear that you might get this virus, but we hope you stay safe, Dwayne, and we really do appreciate the phone call. 702-257 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Brady. Brady, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Brady?
Good morning, gentlemen. Hey, I have to go to bat for my brother in arms, Wayne Allen Root. I've liked that guy for years since he's been on the radio here. You got to give him
That's
a little
shocking.
credit for what he's done.
Credit for what? What has he done? What has he done?
Well, hang on. He's been he's one.
What should I give him credit for?
He helped Donald Trump get elected. How's that?
How did he help Donald Trump get elected?
By spreading the word of how rotten
Oh,
the Democrats.
right. He spread the word. You're right. He's responsible. He's the reason why. Okay, next. What else should I give him credit for? What else should I give him credit for?
Okay.
Name me one other thing.
Silver.
Huh?
I think colloidal silver is a very, very good thing.
Are you serious? He just got a letter from the Attorney General, and now you're defending it? You're no better than him. You're a scumbag.
Correct.
Get lost. Get Brady off the line. Anyone who's going to defend this guy and defend this silver alkaline is a moron.
Yeah, good call, Brady.
Yeah, great call. What a doofus. Give this guy credit. I'll give you credit for being an idiot and making this show more entertaining. All right, Brady? 702-257-5396. Let's go to Robert. Robert, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Robert?
Hey, man. I was reading my emails today, and I got this email from some, there's always a bunch of unknown companies on there, and it's talking about the mask. So it's got about, I don't know, probably the ad has maybe 10,000 words about why you need it and what you better have it and all. So then you get down to the bottom and it says, to find out, more information on whether or not you can get it. Like the guy doesn't have enough of them to sell.
Robert, can I interject real quick? Robert, can I just ask you a question real quick? I apologize because we're got time constraints, but from what I've heard about these masks, Robert, is that they can do more harm than good. The only way it can help is if you're not, it'll help you not spread the virus, but it doesn't protect you, Robert.
That's not my point. Here, listen to my point real quick.
Okay.
The mask is $39.99.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding, and that's what was on my email. And then it has a timer saying you've only got 12 minutes left to buy it.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of people that are, scared to death. My neighbors, they won't even come out of their house. They're the types that fund these idiots like this.
There you go.
How do you catch these guys? I'd love to.
I know.
Hey, man, I'll buy the mask. Meet me behind Circle K.
Robert, I am so glad that you brought that up because as you heard earlier in this segment, I'm talking about, people that take advantage of people during these difficult times. Robert, that is a perfect example that you just gave, my friend. I appreciate you doing that for our listeners, and thank you so much. Appreciate it, Robert. 702-257-5396. Robert just called up and he said, listen, there's people that are selling masks for $40. Those people are disgusting. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll take more of your calls at 702-257-5396. It could be, some of the trials and tribulations you're going through. How was your weekend in this coronavirus thing? What did you do this weekend? And I'm also going to talk a little bit about the president's response to it. The president's response to it, Fauci seems to be frustrated. And, a lot of people want an end to the lockdown. So we're going to talk about that coming up next. 702-257-5396. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, K-Dawn.
Hey, Greg, I'm so sorry to hear about your brother's heart attack. Thanks. He's okay now, but it really got me thinking about my family. Could my wife still pay our mortgage if I had a heart problem? Or could my kids still go to college? Man, that is really scary. Yeah, you should call my life insurance agent at Health IQ. When I got life insurance for my family last year, they saved me 41% versus any other company I looked at. 41%? That's huge. Yep.
Health IQ starts by shopping everyone with the top 30 life insurance carriers to make sure they can get the lowest retail rate. Then they apply their exclusive healthy lifestyle savings, which can save you up to 41%. I literally got $1 million in coverage for my family for just $36 a month.
Just $36 a month?
Yep. You should check it out at healthiq.com/easy.
To save that much money, I'm going to call them right now. What's that link again? healthiq.com/easy?
Yep. healthiq.com/easy.
Your home for Sean Hannity. KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Special report coronavirus update. Mitch McConnell is blaming Democrats for holding up urgent passage of a $2 trillion national stimulus package.
Democrats won't let us fund hospitals or save small businesses unless they get to dust off the Green New Deal.
Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says a deal is close in the Senate. The nation's governors are like wartime field generals, directing the moves in the battlefield hour by hour. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is ordering hospitals in his state to increase capacity by 50%.
Increase the number of beds. We have 53,000. We may need 110. We have 3,000 ICU beds. We may need between 18 to 37,000. That's my greatest concern.
Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar says her husband John Besser has been hospitalized with coronavirus. She says he quarantined himself. He got a test after he coughed up blood. I'm Mike Moss. Miami Mayor Francis Suarez remains in quarantine after getting the coronavirus, but he is recovering and clearly is still working.
Stay home. If you're a Miami resident, stay home. If you're not a Miami resident, go home because essentially everything here is closed. Our non-essential businesses are closed. Our beaches are closed. Our parks are closed. Our boat ramps are closed. Our hotels are closed.
New York Mayor Bill de Blasio addressing Congress.
I want to appeal to everyone in the House and Senate. You've got to give all of us direct relief because we're losing billions of dollars.
The auto industry is converting some of its unused capacity to help respond to the emergency. Fiat Chrysler is converting a plant in Asia to make face masks. General Motors says it's exploring the production of ventilators at a facility in Indiana. The automaker says that it's working around the clock to try to make it happen. On Wall Street, the Dow was down about 230 points. I'm Mike Moss.
This is the story of Julie Guillot. She's a Leukemia and Lymphoma Society advocate and the mother of a child who battled blood cancer.
Zach was diagnosed with AML, a deadly leukemia, when he was only 5. He died at just 9 years old, really from the treatment that was meant to save him.
Today, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society is pioneering breakthrough treatments for kids with cancer.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner and Rowe Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Discover. A crash reported on I-15 southbound at the 215 Southern Beltway at the eastbound transition ramp. Still a factor. Expect slowing off to the right. Also a crash reported Cheyenne Avenue at Decatur Boulevard. That is with injury sustained. Another injury crash reported on Eastern Avenue at Desert Inn Road. Police and fire are with the scene. Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
It's open enrollment season, and Medishare is the Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google Medishare and see if it's a fit for you. Medishare, healthcare you can believe in. Join Coach Harvey Hyde and Chuck Hayes Saturday evenings from 9 to 10 p.m. for Trojan Football Report, presented by South Point Hotel and Casino, here on 101.5 FM and 720 AM KDWN, where Las Vegas comes to talk.
I recently read a news story about Homey, and it really got me thinking about this new way to buy and sell homes. Homey combines tech with experienced local agents that don't charge percentage-based commissions. It's only a low, flat $2,500 fee to list your house. My friends at Homey are offering a special promo to our Vegas Take listeners. You'll get $250 off your listing fee when you sell your house. Just text JD to 88588. Text JD to 88588 for more information on homie.com.
If you're one of the millions of Americans who owes back taxes, if you get nervous when the mail comes because you might get a letter from the IRS, then you've heard. Their enforcement agents are cracking down this year and can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts. Even your home or business could be at risk over unpaid taxes. It's all true, but it's also true there's a way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative, an important government program for tax debt assistance. The award-winning experts at Optima Tax Relief will fight to get you the best deal possible, protecting your paycheck and your assets from IRS collections. But don't delay, because the IRS is tacking on interest and hefty penalties every single day. So don't wait until it's too late. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Listen to the Texas Corners Bible Church every Saturday night at 11 p.m. and Sunday night at 10 p.m. on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
Hey, Las Vegas, it's KDON's John Schaefer. You know, I've been living here in Las Vegas for 13 years, and I love this city. In fact, all of us here at KDON and Beasley Media are doing all we can to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. We're all in this together. KDON is here to support you, broadcasting live, providing information and entertainment. You can stream us from home on our app, smart speaker, or at KDWN.com. We're all in this together, Las Vegas. A message from the Beasley community of caring.
The only FM news talk station in the Valley. 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
12.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take on a Monday. Glad you could join us. We are broadcasting live for you to try to give you the best information that we can in regards to the coronavirus. Boy, how was your weekend? What did you do over the weekend in Las Vegas? We're opening up the phone lines, too. We want to hear from you. This is about you. We want to hear about your trials and tribulations. How are you dealing with this very, very difficult issue? Unprecedented times. I tell you, I walked out of my apartment today, and I said to myself, is this for real? Is this a dream? Am I going to wake up and is this thing gone? It just doesn't seem real. Look at what is going on in society right now. It's crazy. So we'll get to your phone calls here in a few minutes at 257-5396. And look, for the next hour, I'm not going to be trashing our president. I'm not going to be trashing his administration. But I think for a few minutes, it is important to talk a little bit about leadership. That's what we need right now. We need a leader. We need somebody that is going to calm the country and somebody that is going to give us factual information. To me, that's what leadership is all about. I'm not sure we're getting that right now. Let me give you an example of that. For the people out there that are saying, the Trump supporters, that are saying that Trump is showing incredible leadership. Well, I want to play you a little bit of audio. This is audio from Friday. The President of the United States asked a very, very, very legitimate question, and we'll discuss it afterwards. His name is Peter Alexander. He's a reporter, I believe, for CNBC, if I'm not mistaken. NBC, I apologize. And I think he's a decent reporter. So this is in the White House, and he's asked what I would consider to be a hit it out of the ballpark type of question. So here's the question that Peter Alexander asked, and listen to Trump's response, and then you tell me if you think this is leadership. Here it is.
Americans were scared, though. I guess nearly 200 dead, 14,000 who are sick, millions, as you witnessed, who are scared right now. What do you say to Americans who are watching you right now who are scared?
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I say. Go ahead. I think it's a very nasty question, and I think it's a very bad signal that you're putting out to the American people. The American people are looking for answers, and they're looking for hope. And you're doing sensationalism, and the same with NBC and Comcast. I don't call it Comcast. I call it Concast. Let me just say for whom you work. Let me just say something. That's really bad reporting.
Okay, first of all, explain to me what is wrong with that question. There are Americans that are scared. That's very factually accurate. I'm one of them. I'm scared. We're all scared. Talk to the American people. What would you say to the American people that are scared? We had Dina Titus on last week. I asked her that same question. She gave me a great response. We had one of the Clark County commissioners on, Commissioner Weekly, I believe, on Friday. I asked him that same question. He didn't respond that way. He answered the question. So is that leadership? I don't say a lot of nice things about our vice president, but our vice president was asked that same question. Look at the difference and listen to the way he responded. Have a listen to this.
I would say do not be afraid, be vigilant. All the experts tell us that the risk of serious illness to the average American for the coronavirus is low. But we need every American to put into practice the president's coronavirus guidelines, 15 days to slow the spread.
Okay, Mr. Vice President, good answer. He gave you some factual information and he answered it. That's what leadership is. So my question to you, is the president really showing leadership here? Yesterday, in a press conference yesterday, the first thing the president did was attack the media. That's the first thing the president did. Obviously, that tells me that's the first thing that's on his mind. Maybe not the well-being of the American people. He's thinking about himself. That is not the definition of leadership, ladies and gentlemen. It's just not. And now he wants to end this lockdown. But we talked a little bit about...
Do you know why? He
hold on.
He wants to end the lockdown, Brian?
Well, obviously the economy. And I think he's thinking about his reelection in 2020. But let me get to Fauci. I just want to get to Fauci real quick, and then I want to get your response to Fauci. So Dr. Fauci was asked about some of the statements that he's made about the lockdown, some of the statements that are not factually accurate he's made about some medicines that he claims could cure the coronavirus. So this was Dr. Fauci's response over the weekend. He said, I haven't been fired. He said, the president does listen to what I say, but he also went on to say, the president does not express things in a way that I would express them because it could lead to some misunderstanding about what the facts are about a given subject. And then what Dr. Fauci says next is very telling to me. He says, I know that Trump has made some false statements on the virus. What do you want me to do? That's Dr. Fauci who's saying these things.
He also said, and I'm surprised you didn't say this as well, but I come at this from a perspective of science, and the president is coming at this from a perspective of hope, and I think that is completely reasonable.
There is a difference between hold on.
No,
there's
Brian.
a difference. Hold on. Let me just hold on.
Based on our last conversation we had. By the way, another man in Florida is now touting that drug that Trump was talking about, saying that it actually has probably helped him be treated for this.
Here's the problem with that.
Based on the last conversation we had, Brian, it almost seems like you don't want this chloroquine, azithromycin treatment or whatever it is to actually work simply because Donald Trump is the one that is pushing, because he's not a doctor.
Okay, so let me respond to that. Hold on, let me respond to what you just said.
Pushing this because
that's ridiculous.
Of what happened in France. That is because with the actor out of New York City, and what happened with this man.
Let me be clear to you.
In Florida.
That is a ridiculous claim that you just made. So now I am going to defend myself because I am shocked that you just said that. I want every American to be as safe as possible and be cured ASAP. Here is my problem. There is a difference between hope and saying things that are not factually accurate. Hold on. Let me explain here. Okay? If the president did a press conference and said, listen, we have nothing to lose. We don't know if this can help you, but it might be worth a try. But he added things to that.
Like what? What did he say?
He said, I'm usually right, and I believe I'm right about this.
And he said this could be a game changer.
That's not
which
he said.
It definitely could be a game changer.
That's
Brian.
not all.
This drug could potentially not be. It may not be the all in all cure.
Okay,
but it could be.
So Dr. Fauci is lying.
Legitimate. Dr. Fauci is not lying. Dr. Fauci knows about as much about this drug and how it treats people as anyone else does. There's only been one trial with this drug done in France.
He said that.
But the results of that trial had a 1 in 10,000 chance of occurring the way they did. And that is strong data to back up. And that is why New York City has agreed, or New York State has agreed, and Andrew Cuomo has agreed to start the trial tomorrow. That's why other people are talking about this drug as a potential, not a cure, but a legitimate treatment. And what's a treatment do? If you're in the hospital, if you're just sick, you're out of the hospital earlier. If you're very, very sick, you could possibly be cured of this virus. It opens up ventilators. It opens up ICU beds. It's a great thing having a legitimate treatment available. And that could absolutely be the case right now.
Okay, phone lines are jammed right now, but I will just respond to everything you just said by one statement in the words of Dr. Fauci. He said Trump has made false statements on the virus, and it is I got to get to the phone calls, but it is the president's responsibility to not make false statements on anything, especially in these times when it comes to the coronavirus. Hold on, that is the words of Dr. Fauci. Those aren't my words.
And I understand, but that statement does not apply to what he said about chloroquine and azithromycin, the Z-Pak, the hybrid drug.
Okay, well, you have to go back.
Potentially being a game. But the conversation right now is, does the United States, this disease, this virus is ravaging the United States. Obviously, we're all in lockdown. The economy, if it goes on for 6 to 9 months, like Andrew Cuomo said it was going to, that could cause irreversible damage to the economy. And Trump is starting to really realize that.
Okay, well, what he also needs to...
So if a drug is, if a treatment is available to stop or to curb this virus from not only spreading but actually causing hospital beds to be totally filled up, then that is a great thing.
And that's not what he said.
And if Donald Trump thinks it could be a game changer, then I'm very hopeful that it is, because I want this thing to end just like everybody else does. And I'm surprised that you aren't hopeful that it's a game changer as well, especially with a study done in France where they have 30 people who did it.
Because unlike you, I don't.
What is the air different in France than in the United States?
You gotta let me comment.
It doesn't make a difference.
Unlike you, JD, unlike you, I'm not listening to the president when it comes to this stuff. You know who I'm listening to? The experts, the doctors. You listen to the president and you hang on every word. I don't. He's not a doctor. He's a narcissist.
Brian, I've done a lot of research, and again,
so why is Fauci downplaying it then?
Because there isn't a ton of empirical data behind it.
Exactly.
Okay, that's
end of conversation.
It's not end of conversation. It doesn't change the fact that it could be a game changer. And again, Donald Trump, just like you said when he said, we'll have a vaccine done very soon. Does very soon mean 3 weeks? No, but if the standard vaccine is done in 18 months and it comes up in 8 months, and that is very soon in comparison to the standard vaccine.
So a guy who had all the information about this virus a couple months ago, who said everything's going to be just. Hold on, let me finish.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I totally agree. Donald Trump was totally incorrect.
You got to let me finish. You got to let me finish.
It was wrong there.
Okay, you got to let me finish. A guy in the last couple months that said this is going to go down from 15 to close to 0 a month and a half ago. The guy, I'm talking about Donald Trump, by the way. Let me finish.
You're making this political, Brian.
No, I'm not making it political. I'm giving you facts.
Your hatred for Trump is very, very apparent right now. Your bias is very, very apparent.
I disagree.
Obviously, Donald Trump made some ridiculous statements when he didn't have a lot of knowledge of.
Not true. That's not true. He did have the knowledge. No, that's not true.
For whatever reason, he made the statements,
Brian.
That's not true. He made ridiculous statements.
What do you mean he didn't have the knowledge?
This was not a ridiculous statement. Saying that this cure or that this treatment could actually be a game changer is not a ridiculous statement.
You just said something that's wrong. He did have the knowledge 2 months ago. And the reason why I say that is because he was briefed. Just like these Republicans and Democrats that sold off all their stocks a couple months ago, he had the information 2 months ago. That is a fact. He knew this was going to be a pandemic. In fact, hold on a second, JD. Let me use his own words to prove you wrong. Hold on. I know you want to interrupt me again. Just give me 30 seconds without
I'm not interrupting you,
okay.
Brian.
He said
you just think that you have the right to talk whenever you feel like talking.
Well, I'm the host of the show.
No matter if somebody else is talking.
I'm the host of the show. I'm just trying to respond to what you just said. And Donald Trump,
co-host, Brian.
Donald Trump said this is a pandemic, and I knew it was a pandemic before it was a pandemic. Well, guess what? A month ago, he said it wasn't a pandemic. In fact, he said the opposite. So let me ask you, which Donald Trump is lying? The one who said he knew it was a pandemic before it was a pandemic?
I'm not disputing any of that. Obviously, Donald Trump
said he didn't have the knowledge.
Was very incorrect. For whatever reason, he was very, very incorrect about what was going to take place.
He lied.
I'm not going to say that he lied, but he was definitely incorrect.
There's evidence to support
that.
But
I'll tell you who did probably lie. For some reason, the United States was under the impression that the virus was not transmittable from human to human. Do you know why that was?
What does that have to do with what we were just talking about?
Because information came directly from China stating that.
What does it have to do with what we were just talking about?
A lot of misinformation, and a lot of inaccurate reporting took place from the actual the origin of this virus, which was Wuhan, China, and the Chinese government. That's been happening for quite some time. And if Donald Trump wasn't fully aware of what was going on very, very early, it's because of a lack of information, because the wrong information was being transmitted to him from China.
Not true. He was. A few months ago, there were plenty of briefings. In fact, the administration was warned upwards of a year ago that this country was not ready for this pandemic. Let's go back.
That has nothing to do with the coronavirus.
It has everything to do with it, because we could have saved lives if the administration acted sooner.
And actually, Donald Trump did not. He did disband the pandemic team.
That worked out really well.
But the CDC has been getting paid more money since Donald Trump became president. It never has.
Yeah, because this is about money. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. All right, we have a full board of callers. Do you agree with JD? Do you agree with me? Let's talk it out, and we want to hear from you, our great locals out there that are listening. Let's go to Steve. Steve, you're first up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Steve?
Good morning. May I say this? You did ask what I did over the weekend. One thing is, instead of just complaining and being negative like a lot of people, I've been researching this. Can I just throw this out to the public? When your body is deficient in vitamin A, you have a much higher probability of getting infections and viruses and things like that. And if you want, there's an article from a Harvard doctor back in 1925 called Tissue Changes Following Deprivation of Fat-Soluble Vitamin A. Dr. Walbach. You can get it on Google Scholar, Wolbach. And more recently, a book back in the 50s. They were ahead of the time. They said when you don't get enough vitamin A, the cells don't increase at the right rate, and they cause a film. And what happens is that you can't fight infections. So I've been eating a diet, somewhat high in vitamin A, trying to stay healthy. I'm 67. I'm out every day doing things, going places. I'm not
Swain
sick.
Allen Root.
So let's try to take care of ourselves and get along with this.
All right, well, listen, I appreciate the phone call. I would say that I hope we have better medical information now than we did in 1925, but I appreciate the phone call.
You know what? He is right there. If you don't sleep enough and if you have a very, very poor diet and you're eating a lot of sugar, then your immune system is going to be lower. That's a pretty basic.
That's obvious.
That's a pretty basic, and I think that's kind of what he's saying is that he is trying to eat better and make his immune system, like for example, I've been taking, and I don't believe that I have the coronavirus. I haven't been tested for it, but I don't have any symptoms of it. But I've been taking emergency.
You have the Trump virus.
Emergency every day. I drink hot tea with honey every single day. I try to eat a little better every single day. I try to sleep as much as I can so that my immune system is actually ready. If I do come in touch with the coronavirus, that it doesn't ravage my immune system. So I think there is some truth to what he was saying.
257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Edward. Edward, you're next on the Vegas Take. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Edward?
I called on Jim Murin, but a quick aside of what he just said. If you look on a thing of honey, it says do not feed to infants. You know why that is? Because it can have viruses in it. So, but anyway, on Jim Murin, I think he was a bad pick. I think he doesn't have credibility with whether lower level management or union workers or even customers.
Tell people who Jim Murin is, please.
The MGM, he's been appointed to the task force on coronavirus.
Gotcha.
In Nevada.
Okay.
Former CEO and considered the father of the resort fee.
Right, and I think he has a bad image. I don't know.
Hey, I heard Jim was proposing to the supermarkets to charge everybody $15 to park at supermarkets and a $29.99 resort fee if you buy anything in the supermarket. That's a rumor. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with him, and even the white collar employees didn't like him, and he feathers the nest of big stockholders and the top executives.
You're not going to hear an argument. Listen, man, you're not going to hear an argument from me. My friend,
maybe Penn and Teller would have been a better choice.
Well, Edward, you're not going to hear an argument from me, my friend. I hear where you're going with that. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Kurt. Kurt, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on? What's up, Kurt?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good.
What's up?
What's up, Kurt?
All right. I have a question, not politically motivated. It's a legitimate question.
Okay.
Is it possible that we've been walking around with this thing since November, December?
Absolutely.
100%. That's where me and JD agree.
Yeah. So for example, my cousin, we had to cancel plans with her. She had this respiratory viral infection, okay? And she was sick all through January. She went to the doctor and said, hey, you got a virus. All the exact same symptoms as the coronavirus.
Kurt,
my cousin and his wife are convinced.
Kurt, let me give you a story real quick. Yep. Stay on the line, Kurt. I want to give you a story real quick. And by the way, yeah, we agree. So I'm pretty close to several Division I college basketball coaches, and I spoke to one of the coaches 2 days ago, and I'm not going to say who it was, but I've had a relationship with him, friends with him for a long time. Doesn't coach too far from here. And he told me half of his team had one of the worst viruses he's ever seen, and this happened in January, the first week of January. Yep. And he told me he's never seen anything like it. Now he told me, this is the other day, he told me he is convinced that half his team had the coronavirus.
And Liz Cambage also came out.
So here's my point. Excuse me for interrupting, but here's
no problem.
My point. Is that when we start testing and find out that 100 million Americans are walking around with this thing, and that hardly anybody is getting sick. And I don't mean to say that, flippantly. I mean,
I know what you mean.
when we find out that everybody has it, are we going to chill out and get back to life?
Well,
here?
the thing is
People need
that
to ask themselves. I think people need to ask themselves what they're going to think, what they're going to say, if that ends up being the case.
And
My cousins, my mom, she had it. They weren't tested for coronavirus.
Right.
they were tested for the flu, right? And if you look at it, and so the conversation can be, well, then are people dying of coronavirus and it's being misdiagnosed as the flu? Well, if that's the case, then the flu numbers would be higher than they usually are. And this flu season is actually pretty standard for the United States, where there's been about 30,000 deaths. The most flu deaths was actually in 2018. I believe there was 80,000 deaths. So you can't really say that there's a flu pandemic, or there's not an uptick in the flu deaths that could be attributed to the coronavirus either. And you're totally right. If there are millions of Americans walking around with this virus, then it actually makes the real mortality rate much less than the flu. And that's the problem, is we don't really know when it started circulating. And if there are, say for example, I was at the Rio 2 months ago with my wife. We were sitting down playing poker, and an Asian man sat down at the table next to us. He was probably 65 years old, and this was maybe mid January, and he was coughing. I mean, he was coughing and coughing and coughing. And within 2 or 3 days, my wife was very, very sick. She was so sick, I had to call in a company called Reset IV and have them come in and give her a Myers cocktail. It was a $330 IV treatment, but she had 103 fever. She couldn't get out of bed.
It's an expensive cocktail.
It was. She was very, very sick. But she actually required 4 of those over the next week. Thank God I won $20,000 hitting a huge royal flush on the $5 poker machine at the Rio, so I had the money to pay for it. But she was actually very, very sick, and I think that the symptoms that she had are very similar to the coronavirus. And considering the fact that particular person, considering he was Asian and the virus did start in China, there could have been transmission there, and so this virus could have been circulating for months and months and months. And there could be a lot of Americans right now with antibodies to the virus who are actually immune to it. And the more Americans that are immune to a virus like this, if it does come back and present itself again in a couple of years or in 10 years or every single season, then if you're immune to it, you can't spread it to someone else who's a high risk group. So it's actually not a bad thing for millions of Americans to get immune to this virus if they're not experiencing, major symptoms. Even mild symptoms are okay, and or no symptoms at all.
If you're just joining us, we're taking some phone calls, 702-257-5396. In regards to this coronavirus, we've talked a little bit about Trump's response, the way he attacks reporters and continually does that. He wants to end this lockdown. Dr. Fauci saying that Trump has made some false statements on this virus. I know we have a lot of people on hold. Thank you for being patient. We're going to try to get to all of you this hour. By the way, Kurt, thank you for that phone call.
Good call, Kurt.
And we hope that you and your family stay safe. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Ron. Ron, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Ron?
Yeah, JD, good morning. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well.
JD, I got to ask you a question. What are you doing on that program?
What are you doing on this show? Stupid call. Get off. Get off the show. Dumb call.
Hey, really good call, Ron.
702-257-5396. Let's go to David. David, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's up?
What's up, David?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good.
Doing good.
I think that the problem we have, not only with this virus, is this shows a problem we have with society. We've become a society that expects instant gratification, and
very hedonistic.
The problems we have is I'm not a scientist. I do work in an industry where we have surfaces to clean, and I had a report from a lab that came out several months ago from Germany. And one of the problems with this particular strain of this virus is the concentration levels of the known chemicals we have to actually sanitize our surfaces with. The concentration level is not enough in home products.
So you're saying, Dave, can I just ask you a question? And then we only have about a minute, and I'm up against a break. I apologize. But I want to ask you, because it sounds like you know a lot about this. You make a great point. So you're saying if this coronavirus is on an object, on clothes, or on your hands, for example, you're saying some of this hand sanitizer might not be strong enough. Is that what you're saying?
You can read the reports from labs that are posted online, and what jumped out at me that was different about this virus and you look at the concentration levels that they are recommending to actually eliminate the virus and the time that those chemicals must dwell on the on those surfaces, when you look at the products that are approved for general population use,
Gotcha.
there's really nothing out there that has the concentration level because it would be unsafe for the public.
Sure, understood. I'm first of all, let me just say I'm glad you brought that up. Just because you use sanitizer and just because you wash your hands 80 times a day, there's no guarantee. That doesn't mean that the virus is, you can't get the virus. Very important that you bring that up. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we want to hear from you. More of your calls, the trials and tribulations that you've had to go through. How has your Las Vegas weekend been like? What is that like for you living in Vegas, during this coronavirus? Take a quick break. Be back right after this.
I was 9 when I lost my leg to bone cancer. I had a 50% chance to live. After chemotherapy treatments at my children's hospital and the amputation, I had beaten the odds. But would I ever be as active as I once was? Fast forward 20 years. I've competed in the Paralympics and now play on the U.S. amputee soccer team. Help kids live their dreams just like me. Put your money where the miracles are. Give to your Children's Miracle Network Hospital.
On Capitol Hill, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell blames Democrats for holding up a $2 trillion relief package, but Democratic Leader Chuck Schumer responds.
Maybe the Majority Leader thinks it's unfair to ask protections for workers and labor to companies that are getting hundreds of billions of dollars. We think it's very fair to ask for those. Those are not extraneous issues. That is a wish list for workers, nobody else.
Defense Chief Mark Esper says troops are being checked for the virus.
We're always very conscious of the health of the force before it deploys on a military mission.
The head of the World Health Organization says the coronavirus outbreak is accelerating, but still insists there is time to change the trajectory of the pandemic. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says enough is enough. He tells his citizens to go home and stay home. The Dow is down about 250. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner and Rowe Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Discover. A crash on the I-15 southbound transition ramp to eastbound 215 still a factor on that transition ramp. Expect delays are taking alternate route. Also an injury accident on Cheyenne Avenue at Decatur, and police and fire on scene for a collision with injuries reported at Eastern Avenue at Desert Inn Road. Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
What do Vegas locals know that most visitors don't? That you can see snow in the distance on many a 100-degree day. That our home is one of the few places you might use the AC and the heater the same day. And that all that natural beauty makes this a great place to live. Which is what Yes Air Conditioning is here for. Since 1954, Yes Air Conditioning's strategy has been simple. We get your AC working and keep it working, so you don't have to think about it. Call now and have the peace of mind knowing that the Yes Man can. Call 888-4937 or visit theyesmancan.com. License 71246.
At Panda Law Firm, we know you have enough things to worry about right now. Needing a lawyer shouldn't be one of them. We're still open and scheduling free consultations via the phone, internet, and in person. If you need a lawyer, call Panda Law Firm at 702-818-3888.
I was 9 when I lost my leg to bone cancer. I had a 50% chance to live. After chemotherapy treatments at my children's hospital and the amputation, I had beaten the odds. But would I ever be as active as I once was? Fast forward 20 years. I've competed in the Paralympics and now play on the U.S. amputee soccer team. Help kids live their dreams just like me. Put your money where the miracles are. Give to your Children's Miracle Network Hospital.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
Nothing like a little Rolling Stones while you're in quarantine. Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro, broadcasting live from Brian Shapiro's kitchen, folks. That's right. Seems like just about every business is on lockdown. It's crazy times we're living in, and this show is about you. We want to hear from you. We want to hear about your trials and tribulations. What have you had to deal with? Are you worried about your next paycheck? Maybe you own a business. Do you have the coronavirus? We want to hear from you at 702-257-5396. Coming up here at 11 a.m., we're going to be speaking with a man by the name of Carl Goldman. He was on the Diamond Princess cruise. He owns radio stations out there, I believe, in California. He contracted the virus. He was put in quarantine, didn't see his wife for months. My understanding is in the course of the last week, he finally has been okayed to go home. So it'll be a really interesting conversation with Carl Goldman coming up in hour number 3. But as I said, this show's about you. We want to take your phone calls. We want to hear from you. Questions, comments, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Mark. Mark, thanks for waiting patiently on hold, my friend. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing okay, Brian and JD. We check our temperature every morning, and I finally found out that there is one thing normal about me right now.
What's that?
My temperature.
Oh, that's good. That's a good thing. We're happy to hear that. You're being vigilant with your wife.
I want to make a couple of points.
Sure, go ahead.
One is that the 1918 influenza epidemic, oftentimes the people who died were those who were young and healthy and had stronger immune systems, because it was the immune system response that got them into trouble. And with this virus, the coronavirus, COVID-19, a lot of times what's happening is that you get these high fevers, you get the pneumonia, and oftentimes that's your own body's response that ends up killing you.
Sure.
So don't be too sanguine about having a strong immune system.
Right.
The really strong immune systems are called autoimmune diseases like lupus and so forth.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. Can I ask you, if you don't mind, you're married, right, sir?
Yes.
If you don't mind answering this, how is this, how long have you been married for, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, not at all. 1998.
Thank you. There's a reason why I asked that, sir, because, as JD mentioned, and I agree with him, this could affect some relationships, and it kind of puts you to the test. How has it been with your wife, being in quarantined in your home? Are you guys getting along okay? Are you guys getting a little nasty at each other from time to time? Because I live by myself, and I'm getting nasty with myself. I'm in a bad mood, So seriously, so how are you guys able to handle this, being basically trapped in your home?
Well, you have to keep a sense of humor with each other, and a little bit of space doesn't hurt occasionally, and allow everybody their own bit of life, so to speak. That we don't always have the same interests and so forth, so you give them a space, and they give you a little space.
Gotcha.
And it seems to work out that way.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and thank you for calling in, and I'm glad you're being vigilant and you're washing your hands, and I'm glad things are going good with your wife. I was just curious because I don't live with anybody else. I like living alone, and I would imagine this is certainly affecting some people in their relationships, and it's putting them to the test. I think that's very fair to say.
I've Brian begun watching Narcos.
What's Narcos?
This is Jason, the producer, but JD's having his morning constitutional.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Narcos is a show on Netflix. It's about Pablo Escobar and the narcotics trafficking back in the 80s in Colombia.
No porn? You haven't watched any porn?
So I'm not getting upset with myself because I'm keeping myself distracted.
More porn than usual for you? Because I know you're a guy that enjoys his pornography.
No, it's the same amount. There's only so much you can watch.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Just wanted to get an update on
that.
We
got Ron on the line.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. We want to hear from you, the locals out there. How are you guys dealing with this? Let's go to Ron. Ron, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, man.
Doing well, Ron.
Hey, Brian. Once again, I want to commend you with Wayne Allen Root. I don't listen to him anymore, nor do I care to. But
well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Ron.
He's scared. He's a scaremonger to me.
Yeah, well, I can totally understand. I could totally understand why you would say that, and I think we exposed him for that. So I appreciate those kind words, Ron. How are you dealing with this, my man?
I'm a local truck driver in construction right now, so I'm going to go back to freight later. So I'm pretty blessed being able to work right now out in the open, away from people. So I'm doing good. By the way, I like you a lot, Brian, but I think you're an undercover Democrat. Nothing. No offense.
Well, all I can. Listen. No offense taken, Ron. You're entitled to that opinion. I will say this, and I will be intellectually honest when I say this. Certainly, I lean more to the left when it comes to some issues. But listen, I'm for border security. I've always been for the death penalty, and there are some things that Republicans have done that I am for. I also am a support. I've always supported Mitt Romney and John McCain. There are a lot of Democrats that I would never support, and I haven't even said that I would vote for Joe Biden. And it looks like Joe Biden is going to be the guy that's running against Trump. So I can understand why you might think that, because I can't stand the president. But if you want to call me a Democrat or you think I lean to the left, I don't have a problem with that. It's the people that assume that I'm a liberal just because I don't like Donald Trump, Ron. Those are the people that I get frustrated with. I appreciate the phone call. Stay safe, my friend. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Doug. Doug, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Doug?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Doing well.
Hey, just to comment on the last caller, Brian, I think party line voting is dangerous because there's wacko Democrats, there's wacko Republicans.
Doug, I agree. I agree 100%. And let me just make a quick point. And then Doug, I'll let you go. Just from what you just said, I think the two worst words in this country are Republican and Democrat. And the reason why I say that is because I think people vote for their party before the country. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Doug, I agree with you.
Or even before themselves. They vote for their party before themselves. They vote. There's an expectation of what they should vote for, but then that goes against what is actually going on and what benefits them in their personal life.
And JD and Doug, this doesn't help us right now because we're trying to get this coronavirus stimulus package gone through, and they can't even get that to go through. I mean, it's a joke.
One last comment. I listened to your guys' show more than anybody else's. I mean, the great interview last Friday, great debate between you guys. I mean, that's what this should be about, talking about opinions. And obviously, I have to get some facts out there, but it's entertaining radio. You guys do a great job.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks a
we
lot,
we
Doug.
really appreciate that. And
man.
to be honest with you, yes, we want to get information out there. Yes, we want to be factual. But let's be honest, we're also in the business of entertaining people. Maybe put a smile on your face in very difficult times. So, Doug, I'm really glad that we're doing that for you, and we appreciate that. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Nathan. Nathan, you are next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Nathan?
Yeah, hey, so what I wanted to ask is that you said earlier that Ron Paul said the coronavirus is a hoax, and what exactly did you mean by that?
Well, Ron Paul wrote an article, I believe it was March 17th. Maybe our producer can write it up or check on that for us. But he wrote an article last week attacking Democrats and saying that it was a hoax, pushing forward this coronavirus as being a pandemic. Now, the reason why I brought that up, normally I wouldn't even bring up Ron Paul, but the reason why I brought that up is because his son just contracted the virus. And I think it's important, let alone for a radio talk show host, it's important for a politician, a well-known one, to make those types of statements. And I think we have some information.
To answer the question, Nathan, 6 days before the diagnosis, he wrote an article with his father, Ron Paul and Rand Paul, I guess together, published March 16th. In the piece, Ron Paul said governments love crises because when the people are fearful, they are more willing to give up freedoms or promises that the government will take care of them. And the title of the article was, quote, the coronavirus hoax.
Right. I mean, this is the tale that Ron Paul is putting together with his son, and now his son has the virus. I think it's important to, for lack of a better term, expose these people.
Well, it's pretty ironic.
Yeah.
And if there's one senator on the Republican side that has the coronavirus, I'm not shocked at all that it's Rand Paul.
Does that make sense to you, sir? Did we lose you? I think we lost him.
Of course. Now, this article was written by the father, but
doesn't matter.
You know.
That's why. And by the way, I didn't say Rand Paul. I said Ron Paul. And then I said Rand Paul's the idiot that gets the virus, and then he decides to work out in the gyms there, the senator gyms and the pools.
Again, not
he's a moron.
Not a giant surprise.
No, we shouldn't be surprised. I agree. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Davis. Davis, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Davis?
Good morning, guys. Hope you're doing good. So when the history of this is written, we'll have to go back to November, December when all the news was coming out of China. And then, the rhetorical question then is, who should have warned Italy, Spain, Germany, France? I mean, certainly, without even getting into Donald Trump, it wouldn't have been his job to warn them. And Fauci said last night that Italy should have stopped the primary carriers from China.
I agree with that. You bring up some good points.
JD was talking about hotspots. There's 3 in the U.S., And Fauci said those were all created by primary carriers, Northern California, Seattle, and New York City. So when it's written, it's going to go back, and then you're going to have to look at whose job is it to watch out for these pandemics. It's the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
And what did they do? Go back and look at all their tweets all the way through, even in January, late January. They're still saying that it's not contagious between humans.
Right. They were saying it wasn't transmittable.
All of this is the World Health Organization.
There is
Donald
Davis.
Can I finish? Donald Trump isn't responsible for Spain or France or Italy. You can't blame him for that, can you?
Davis, here's my response. Let me start from square one. There is no question that China is the culprit here. There is no question, based on the evidence that we now have, that they tried to cover this thing up. There is no question that that's where the majority of this blame needs.
Was it to uncover it?
Well, obviously the government covered it up.
World Health Organization.
Yeah, well, listen.
U.S. government's not protecting.
I'm not talking about the U.S. government. I'm not talking about the U.S.
World Health Organization should have warned them. Don't let them fly.
I'm not. I get it.
This is the worst pandemic.
Okay, but hold on. Let me.
Davis,
the World Health Organization missed it.
Yeah, the issue is China was not giving the World Health Organization accurate information, and the World Health Organization was taking that information as truth when it actually wasn't true, and that definitely created this misunderstanding of how this disease was not as contagious as it clearly is.
There's no question
between people.
There's no question that there has to be some accountability. But right now, what we're talking about on this show, sure, we're talking about accountability, and we're talking about how, yes, I do believe that our administration has failed us just after 9/11. I believe after 9/11, our administration failed us then as well. But right now, obviously, the focal point here, and this is what I appreciate about Cuomo over there in New York, he hasn't trashed the president at all. He's just said, Mr. President, here's what we need. We need help. I think he's showing a tremendous amount of leadership. We need that from all of our politicians, all of our governors throughout the country. We need leadership. Now's the time to step up.
By the way, how about Elon Musk of Tesla creating all these ventilators and spreading them out throughout the United States? That's pretty cool.
Well, it is cool. I hope it's enough. We need more people to step up.
It should be enough. If
we have a serious epidemic going on right now.
If this treatment, if this chloroquine azithromycin combination is successful, it should be enough.
Now's your time. If you want to join to the program, give us a call, 702-257-5396. We want to hear from you. This show is about you. Since this coronavirus outbreak, we want to hear from you locals out there. How are you dealing with this? How did you deal with your weekend, by the way, in Las Vegas? Are you the type of person that usually stays at home anyway? Well, then it may not affect you as much as others. But if you're the type of person that likes to be out a lot like me, I'm going crazy. I'm losing my mind. I'm doing a radio show from my kitchen table. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. I believe Kevin is up next. Kevin, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Kevin?
Hey, guys. Yeah, I just keep hearing it. You guys keep trying to, some of you guys keep trying to downplay the seriousness of it.
I'm not doing that at all, sir. With all due respect, I'm doing the opposite. I got you. All right, talk to JD. Go ahead.
No, I'm not downplaying any. All I'm saying is that we don't know how many people in the United States have this virus. This virus would be confused for the flu under standard circumstances, and flu deaths this season are not very high. What I'm saying is the mortality rate might be much less because there could be a lot of people in the United States that don't have the virus, that aren't showing symptoms, that aren't getting sick. That's all I'm saying. I'm not downplaying anything.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Have the infection. Their symptoms, they tell you it's like getting hit by a freight train. And the flu is something wicked. But this one has a sleepers component to it. And when you go down, you go to the emergency room. Most people have compared it to an elephant sitting on their chest. You didn't describe none of that with your wife's symptoms. Sounded like you had a real bad case of the flu. Okay? But to try to spin it off and to give Trump some kind of a cover is ridiculous. But, you guys do keep doing it. The other thing I was just thinking about, I was saying you guys open the doors back up. You open up the casinos, and people still getting sick during the summer. We're going to open up the casinos to lawsuits. Until I stay there for 3 weeks, and I haven't been sick all this time, but I get sick in the Bellagio after you guys open back up. Would I have a legitimate lawsuit to sue the hell out of the Bellagio?
Right. No, listen, you make some good points. Just to be clear on this, I have never downplayed this. Yeah, I just want to be, I understand. I just want to be clear. This is let's both be clear. This is a very serious situation. Very serious. Now, a few weeks ago, I'll take ownership of this. 2 weeks ago, I was making fun of people for going into Costco and Walmart and buying $300 worth of toilet paper. By the way, I stand by those comments. If you're one of these, listen, I know somebody, I'm not going to say their name because I might get hurt, but I know somebody that actually went into Costco and spent $1,000. I was in their garage, okay? I'm not kidding, folks. You had enough toilet paper to go number 2 for 10 years. I saw that in his garage along with a lifetime supply of Gatorade.
So it looks like a military commissary.
It was nuts. And I'm thinking to myself, what is wrong with you? First of all, these supermarkets are not closing down. That's number one. And number two, when you think of the coronavirus, the first thing that enters your mind is, how am I going to be able to wipe my ass? Like, I don't understand the way these people think.
Well, this is it, Brian. This is up to the stores individually to set limits on things.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people, human nature is, they're going to go into survival mode and they're going to be selfish because that's what a lot of people do.
Right.
I mean, there's a story out of British Columbia of a guy who filled his cart with two carts full of meat, of raw meat from the meat aisle in British Columbia, and now he's getting death threats. And he feels so guilty he's actually donated the meat.
I would. I've been trying to find meat for 3 days.
People will do that.
I can't find.
If you have the money to do it,
I had to go to 4 stores yesterday to get baby wipes from my daughter. I'm dead serious. I finally found the last 3 packs of baby wipes, of diaper wipes, at a Walgreens, but I had to go to 4 stores. I mean, people are being ridiculous right now, and the stores aren't stopping it. They're not curbing it, and they should be.
And it's worse than that. I mean, I've been seeing reports of hospitals around the country saying, "Please, we need masks." So people are actually taking things that are medical necessities.
And in New York City, they've created it's called an army of volunteers who are sewing these masks for their nurses and for the people who work in the hospital.
All right, let's take a quick break. And as I said, this show is about you. We want to hear from you. We've heard from so many of our great listeners and local callers that are buzzing in. We want to hear from you. How are you dealing with this? How did you deal with the weekend of living in Las Vegas, not being able to go anywhere, do, for the most part, anything? Number to call, 702-257-5396. Again, if you want to be a part of the program, give us a buzz at 257-5396. More of your calls on the other side of the break. We are listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
She became overweight, stinky, several vertebrae fused together. Sophie was going to be euthanized. DINOVITE.com. I remember Sophie starting the Dynavite. She has loved it. She is no longer stinky. She is full of life. Dynavite is nutrition. Get them on Dynavite right away while they're healthy.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dynavite from DINOVITE.com.
So are you the type of guy that wants to look put together but doesn't want to spend hours shopping? I hear you. This is why there's Stitch Fix, your personal styling service that delivers hand-picked clothes right to you. Stitch Fix is simple and convenient. Sign up in just a few minutes. Try new styles in the comfort of your own home. And there's no subscription required ever. So, isn't it time to refresh your look? Get started today at StitchFix.com. Stitch Fix, personal styling for everybody.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, so glad you could join us. Corona Monday, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not talking about alcohol. How did you deal with the weekend? I mean, I was going out of my mind here. I'm the type of guy, I like to go to casinos. I gamble once in a while. I'll play poker. I like to go out with people to restaurants. I like to go to shows. I like to go out and have fun. And listen, I like to unwind in my house and watch television, but what I don't like to do is to watch it 24/7 with nothing else to do. And listen, you could be saying, "Oh, Brian, you should be out. You should be taking walks and jogging." Look, I like to play sports and stuff. I'm afraid to go to the basketball courts.
Really?
Yeah, I'm afraid.
And I didn't talk about this the first segment, but it was actually very serene for me. It was curious. I was curious how quiet Vegas was on Saturday. I was surprised how quiet Las Vegas was. But I slept a lot. I worked on our proposal to syndicate the show coast to coast. I watched about 15 episodes of The Walking Dead, and then my wife and my daughter and I made a homemade pizza together, which was actually very fun on Saturday. So I actually had a pretty good weekend, Brian.
Homemade pizza. Well, I watched a little bit of sumo wrestling with Chris Wynn, who I think could be a great sumo wrestler himself.
I agree. He's got a future in that.
Yeah, went to 7-Eleven. That was about as exciting as my weekend was. Let's take some more of your calls at 702-257-5396. 5396. We want to hear from you. Let's go to Renee. Renee, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Renee?
Hi, I have a question. There's what, 1.8 billion people in China, right?
Somewhere around there. I'll take your word for it.
It's over 1 billion.
Okay, and how many people have been infected over there?
About 82,000.
Okay, doesn't that seem like a wide range of people compared to the people that are getting this virus?
Well, my response to that would be this. Even if it is a lower percentage in China, we still have to be vigilant. I'm sure you would agree with me, Renee, when I say we all have to take this seriously. There's a reason why all this stuff is shut down, right? I mean, think about it from this perspective, Renee, and not to get Trump involved here, but I will. You know how badly Trump wants this economy to work. If not for you, for him.
Well, it was working, Brian.
Let me finish.
It was working. It was working at a very high level.
I understand.
The stock market was as high as it's ever been before this happened.
But you didn't let me finish my point. I agree with you. Okay. The reason why I bring up Donald Trump is even he is the one that is not necessarily speaking out against some of these government shutdowns. So Renee, that this is a very serious situation. And it might not get better anytime soon.
Well, no, he's starting to speak out against the shutdowns.
Okay,
the tweet from yesterday where he said, "We'll see what happens after 15 days. The cure cannot be worse than the problem," was very, very telling as far as what Trump is trying to do.
Okay, but point I'm trying to make is, most of the country could be on a government shutdown. You know the situation, Renee, that we're dealing with here in Las Vegas. These are serious times. That's the only point I'm trying to make here.
Oh.
Anything else you want to add to that, Renee?
I think that people need to be worried more about wearing gloves than they do masks.
Well, I agree. I think gloves would be more effective than masks. Here's what I'll tell you about masks, and this isn't my opinion, Renee, and I agree with you, but we've had doctors on this show, and what they've said about these masks is this. The only way it can help people is if you have a virus, you're not spreading it to other people. But if you don't have the virus, it's not going to help you. In fact, some studies show that it hurts you more. How? Well, I'll tell you how. Doctors are saying that if you're wearing one of these masks, you're more susceptible to scratching your face, itching your nose and eyes, because let's be honest, wearing one of these masks, it's not comfortable.
No, it's very odd.
Yeah.
It's very unusual.
So I don't understand these people. I just want to say to some of these people that are walking into these supermarkets and stuff, why are you wearing a mask? It's not going to help you. It'll hinder you more than help you. Gloves could probably be a better thing. So our videographer is Campaign. He's sitting right beside me here. He does a great job in broadcasting our stuff through YouTube. He's been wearing a mask every day when he's come in to help us with this show. So, Campaign, my question to you is, if we can hear you through that mask, why are you wearing it?
To prevent all of you guys from maybe catching it from me, because I still am out in traffic and I have other clients.
So you're being thoughtful to us. Well, we appreciate that then. Well, okay. Well, that makes sense then. Then I appreciate that. Now, if you said, I thought you were going to say, I don't want to get the virus from you dirty guys, then I would have had a problem with it. But
I would have not had a problem with that, because there's some truth to it, Brian.
Campaign is certainly more thoughtful than I am.
This isn't exactly the cleanest of establishments.
No, it's not.
I do enjoy the toilet paper, though, Brian, just so you know.
Yeah, I did. So, I was having some issues getting toilet paper, I got stocked up.
And she brings up a good point. The Chinese population is over 1 billion people, 80,000, and again, those numbers, considering China has no problem just hiding numbers, the numbers could be a lot higher than that. We really don't know. But if you look at the actual per capita, per million, the actual number of viruses on a per country basis, Italy has about 800 per million people. United States is at about 75.
702-257-5396. Let's try to squeeze in another call. Let's get to Lisa. Lisa, you're up next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Lisa?
Hi, how are you guys?
Good. What's on your mind?
A lot actually. So I'm kind of how do you say I'm unclear as to what topic to discuss for this morning. Just for this particular morning alone.
Mm-hmm.
Love life, is that a part of you guys issues that you guys do you work on those issues like that?
What issues? I'm sorry. Could you ask that question again?
Yeah. What areas in life are we talking about? Are we talking politically? Mother Earth, nature.
We're talking about everything we're talking about across the board, but we're talking about it from a human perspective of how people in Las Vegas are dealing with this coronavirus.
Are we talking about that? Well, I've been in. I'm for me personally, and that's the reason why I'm calling, is because way before this thing came about, I was already put in an arranged situation where it's just as similar as the coronavirus. I mean the quarantine. Is that how you say it? Quarantine. Quarantine.
Okay.
I mean the arrangement where people have to stay at
You're
home.
saying quarantine. Quarantine.
I think what she was trying to say is quarantine. We appreciate that. I'm sorry I have to cut you short because we got to get to one other caller. Then we got to go to break. Let's go to Brian. Brian, I got about 30 seconds for you, my friend. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Brian?
Hey, perfect. I don't want to say who I work for, but it's not government or anything like that. And we were issued moving permits this morning from Department of Homeland Security.
Really? So what do you make of that, Brian?
Well, it states on there that we are essential business, so it's for us to show to authorities if we get pulled over.
Yes, and I saw that circulating online over the weekend, and I didn't think it was that actually happened. And you live in Nevada?
Yes, sir.
Well, Brian, we appreciate that information. Unfortunately, I'm up against a hard break, so I would love to ask you some more questions. But, Brian, keep up the good work, my friend. I think that is very telling that they are afraid that people like you could be pulled over. What does that mean for us coming up next? So, speaking of coming up next, a guy who contracted the coronavirus from California, he was on the Diamond Princess cruise. His name is Carl Goldman. He has now finally been able to go back to his family. We'll talk to Carl Goldman live coming up next. You're listening to The Vegas Take.
Your home for Sean Hannity, KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Special report coronavirus update.
We can change the trajectory of this pandemic.
The head of the World Health Organization, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, says the coronavirus pandemic is accelerating around the world, but he says nations are not helpless. They can still take steps to reduce the impact. Defense Secretary Mark Esper says the military is ready to set up 2 emergency field hospitals this week.
We are looking at deploying our field hospitals, which include the hospital, the equipment, and medical professionals. And my aim is to get them out this week. My view is Seattle and New York City are the places. We just need FEMA to validate that.
The hunt is on for masks, ventilators, and other medical supplies as more than 1.5 billion people, 1/5 of the world's population, is now being urged or ordered to stay home to try to blunt the spread of the new coronavirus. I'm Mike Moss. Intense negotiations in Washington continue on a $2 trillion package to stimulate the nation's economy. Democratic leader Chuck Schumer.
We're very close to reaching a deal. Very close. And our goal is to reach a deal today. And we're hopeful, even confident, that we will meet that goal.
Majority Leader Mitch McConnell disagrees.
Even with the Federal Reserve announcing even further extraordinary steps today, the markets are tanking once again, as I said, because this body can't get its act together. And the only reason it can't get its act together is right over here on the other side of the aisle.
Italy's new virus cases dropped considerably today. 4,800 new cases, but 700 less than yesterday's increase. Deaths rose by 602, down from 651 a day earlier. Italy hopes the numbers show the worst, maybe over there. The Dow was down 533. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Letterman Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Allstate. Watch for slowing for an accident. Injury sustained reported Sunset at Paradise Road. Another injury crash now reported Spencer at Deep Springs. That's just south of Windmill on Spencer. Expect slow and go in the area. Meanwhile, roadwork continues Las Vegas Boulevard, north of Sahara and before Oakey Boulevard. Avoid heavy delays. Take an alternate like Industrial or Maryland Parkway instead. With an Allstate agent, you get a local expert and help finding the best coverage for you. Plus, when you bundle home and auto, you can save. So call your local Allstate agent today. Are you in good hands? I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
It's open enrollment season, and Medishare is the Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google Medishare and see if it's a fit for you. Medishare, healthcare you can believe in.
JD here from the Vegas Take. I've been renting for a while now, and I'm getting closer to buying, but I'm concerned about all the hidden and surprise fees I've heard my friends had when buying. I just read this new story on Homey and was very curious. You should check them out yourselves at HOMIE.com. Homey is new and different and can save buyers and sellers thousands of dollars. Homey provides experienced local agents with the tech they need to save you time and money. For my friends selling a home, you just pay a low flat rate of $2,500 once it sells, regardless of the price of your home, and be able to take advantage of the tech Homey provides. Plus, get this, my friends at Homey are really stepping up, and they're offering a special promo to KDWN Vegas Take listeners. You'll get $250 off your listing fee when you sell your house. Just text JD to 88588. That's $250 off your listing fee when you sell your house. Text JD to 88588 for more information. Homey.com. Make sure you get the money that you deserve when you sell your house.
There are good numbers.
Oh, 777! Jackpot!
There are bad numbers.
Are we there yet?
Just 822 miles to go.
And if your business doesn't have the right HR solution, it's easy to see people as numbers. Thankfully, there's Insperity. With Insperity, your employees can access competitive benefits and you can streamline your payroll process. So instead of feeling like a number, your employees will always be at their best. Learn more at Insperity.com. Insperity, HR that makes a difference.
I'm attorney Glenn Lerner. Some people don't want to hire a lawyer after a car wreck because they feel sorry for the person who hit them. They think the at-fault driver will be the one who actually has to pay.
I'm Kevin Rowe, and the truth is, in most cases we handle, the insurance company pays for the at-fault driver's lawyers, court costs, settlement, or verdict. The at-fault driver doesn't pay anything. In court, the jury is never allowed to hear this. Hurt in a wreck? Need a check? Call Lerner and Rowe.
Lerner and Rowe is the way to go. Call 877-1500.
Scott Guido, managing attorney. Kevin Rowe is only licensed in Arizona, New Mexico, Oregon, Washington, and Illinois.
1015 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, so glad you could join us on a Monday. We always like getting more information, and usually sometimes it's from those people who have actually had the coronavirus. This gentleman, his name is Carl Goldman. He joined our show last month, I believe. He received the virus, was on the Diamond Princess cruise, the famed Diamond Princess cruise, where everybody was quarantined and it was hell. He receives the virus, and he wasn't able to see his wife for a long period of time. If I'm not mistaken, he was put in quarantine at a hospital in Nebraska, and finally now he's been able to be back with his family and be deemed okay and healthy, and we're so glad that he's taken some time again to join us, Carl Goldman. Carl, thank you so much for being here. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Carl?
Oh, thanks for having me on. I am doing great. I'm home. I'm feeling healthy, and now I'm undergoing my fourth quarantine because we're shut down here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, well, as you know, you guys have that martial law there. We don't have that here yet, Carl, but I know you're not too far from Las Vegas. All the casinos, as I'm sure you've heard, Carl, shut down. All the businesses are shut down here. So we might as well be in a complete government shutdown as well. I mean, we're dealing with the same stuff here. But what many people have not dealt with is what you've had to deal with. Your story is crazy. You received this coronavirus most likely when you were on that Diamond Princess cruise. You're sent away to another state in quarantine, away from your family and friends. Tell me the day that you were finally noticed that they told you that you were free to be back into society.
I was actually freed from Omaha last Monday, so it's been a week since I've been home. I flew back from Omaha to Los Angeles late Monday, and then came back and have been staying put in my house. So I'm, as I said, undergoing the fourth quarantine. I've been now quarantined since February 4th, as you said, first on the Diamond Princess. Then in a biocontainment unit in Omaha, and then downgraded into a lower level of care, also in Omaha. And now this is quarantine number 4.
And so is the virus completely out of your system then, Carl?
Yeah, totally gone. I'm free and clear. I have my notice from the CDC that says I'm allowed to go out once, of course, the quarantine is lifted now for everybody. And they say I'm probably going to be immune from it for many, many, many months. What they don't know is, will I stay immune for it for many years, perhaps a lifetime? They just don't have the answers to that yet.
So your fever reached 104. As you know, a lot of people that have the coronavirus don't even know they have it, which is extremely scary. So for you, your fever reaches 104. That's an extremely serious situation. I would imagine you felt absolutely horrible. Would you compare it to a terrible case of the flu when you had all these symptoms?
Yeah, absolutely. But unlike the flu, I didn't have a stuffy nose, no headache, no sore throat. I did get a dry cough that stayed with me for about 2 weeks. The fever lasted about 8-9 hours during a flight back from Tokyo to Travis Air Force Base in Sacramento. And then the fever was gone. I was obviously fatigued. When I got to Omaha, they flew me from Travis to Omaha. They put me in the biocontainment area, which is like a scene out of a movie because this was set up originally
for
when
Ebola.
the anthrax scare hit right after 9/11.
Yeah.
And then they never used it for anthrax. They used it for the Ebola virus about 5 years ago, and then I was patient number 2 in it. So, they were angels for me in Omaha. It was the most incredible care. I was never really in any grave danger with it. I would compare it to, a mild cold other than that high spike in fever. If I wasn't contagious, I would have been at work at a radio station in Santa Clarita, California, 2 days later.
See, I think that's what makes this thing so scary because, Carl, I would imagine with you don't have any other underlying serious health conditions, correct?
Actually, I did. I have GBS, which is Guillain-Barré syndrome, and I'm 67 years old. That's why they flew me to Omaha, because they thought I might be at risk. Luckily, that didn't happen. The virus did not go into my lungs, so I had an easy stay of it over there. But yes, I was at risk. And one of the things that I advise people to do is, it seems like the virus, I know for me, I had that virus 3 or 4 days before the fever hit. And so it's very easy to walk around with no symptoms, touch someplace, a surface, and I understand the virus can live on surfaces for a brief period of time, an hour to 24 hours, I'm not sure yet, depending on the environment. So going back to the Diamond Princess, I could have picked up the virus from the guy that first got it who got left off in Hong Kong, who we call Ground Zero, and never had any contact with the guy, and then vice versa. During those 3 or 4 days when I didn't have any symptoms, I could have, and yet was still positive, I could have touched something and again given the virus to someone else without any contact. That's why the Diamond Princess became a floating petri dish.
Right. And the close quarters didn't help either. So as far as your treatment that you were given while in the biocontainment unit in Omaha, Nebraska, I'm actually from Omaha myself. So it consisted of Gatorade. Did they ever give you any drug cocktails? Like, for example, President Trump is now talking about a new potential treatment called chloroquine for the severe cases where the actual virus gets down into your lungs. Were you ever given chloroquine or anything along those lines, or was it just Gatorade?
No, for me it was just Gatorade, and I've been through every color, and blue is the bomb, and stay away from the grape because that's nasty.
Fair enough. So, go ahead, Carl.
They did give drugs to another patient there who was in much more serious condition than I was. I signed up for the clinical study, and so did that other patient. I was not qualified. I was too healthy to get the drugs because my lungs were clear, my oxygen level was high. So they put me through a different clinical trial that is going to help them get some answers. It wasn't going to help me over there, but I did it just to help speed up the process for everyone.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm still undergoing that, so they're still evaluating me as part of that clinical study.
Good.
But no, I did not receive any medication.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Carl Goldman. He was diagnosed with coronavirus, spent some time on that Diamond Princess cruise, that famed ship that sadly, a lot of people contracted the virus on. All right, Carl, you've been through this, right? I mean, we're all being inconvenienced. I guess that's one term I could put it, and I guess you could use a stronger term than that because a lot of people are losing their job. A lot of people are their business is going down the toilet, the economy, but you have lived through this, literally. So I have to ask you this question. we seem to be very divided as a country. There are some people in this country that are downplaying this virus. I don't want to make this a political question, but yes, there are politicians that are also downplaying the virus. And then there are others that are taking it to the other extreme, that are saying that this virus, we could be in a government shutdown for a year. I've heard some people say that. So for somebody like you that has actually had this virus, you've lived through it, I want to hear your opinions. Where do you think we're at? And for the people that are downplaying it and for those others that are saying, hundreds of thousands of people are going to die, what do you say, Carl Goldman?
I say definitely quarantine all of us right now and nip this quickly. The sooner the better, because this virus is spreading very, very easily. As I talked about, you can not know you have it and spread it to someone else. 80% end up with mild conditions like I had, but 20% don't. And we don't want to go through this hybrid quarantine for 6, 7, 8 months. It's going to cripple our economy, which is already crippled, and the unemployment will just get that much further into crazy numbers. I'm watching and baffled that, without getting political about it, I'm just baffled that our Senate can't seem to come up with some kind of compromise here and pass that bill and start getting some aid in for all of us.
Very surprising.
Businesses, for big businesses, and for the individuals. That's what's going to take this and turn it around, and putting together then a strict quarantine so a month from now or 2 months from now, we can start seeing this thing really turn around in our country, and we can get back down to business and our daily lives.
Can we talk about your business? Obviously, you're running a radio station out there in California. Are you allowing people in the building? What is your policy right now? Is your building on a shutdown? How are you dealing with that with your business?
Yeah, we are the only radio station for our market here. We're suburban LA, and we cover a population of about 310,000 in Santa Clarita. So we are the emergency broadcast station, and also our website is the major news outlet. So we have the okay to continue to work and continue to operate. We've moved most of our staff to remote situations where they're working out of their homes, and luckily here in 2020 we can do a good portion of that. But we definitely abiding by keeping everyone separated. I'm not going into work, but my wife is, and kind of running the operation for us physically over there. I'm staying here and working remotely, and most of our staff, a good chunk of our staff, are working remotely. But we're continuing to operate.
Gotcha. As our station is as well. Carl, I want to say this on behalf of many. I think I speak for many when I say that thank you so much for telling your story to the world. I think it's very important for people to hear what you've had to go through, and the fact that, yes, if you get the virus, you should be okay, but you just got to get the help you need, and it sounded like you were taken care of, and we're so glad that you got the okay to be back in your home. Again, thank you so much for telling your story. We appreciate it. Stay safe, my friend, for you and your wife and your family, and we appreciate your time, Carl. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. And I just posted on I've been doing a daily journal on hometownstation.com. I just posted the 9 things not to do in quarantine. So maybe you guys can check it out, and we can do a follow-up, and I'll run you through the drill.
I would love to do that with you, Carl. Really appreciate that, and we will take a look at that and have you on again sometime down the road. Carl Goldman, thank you so much for your time.
Take care, guys.
All right, take
thanks
care.
a lot, Carl.
Incredible what he's had to endure and go through. I'm claustrophobic. The fact that you would have to be in quarantine in a cruise ship alone frightens me, but he's been away from his wife. They sent him over to Omaha. Luckily, the man is better now.
He's
crazy.
He's a big deal, Brian. The coronavirus has taken the United States by storm to the extent that we're literally doing the show from your kitchen table. I mean, Carl Goldman was the first person outside of Lawrence Garbus, the lawyer from New York, in the United States, who really talked about what it's like to have the coronavirus.
Yep.
I mean, he's not patient zero, but I mean, as far as from an introspective standpoint, he is. He's the first one that actually gave us an idea, us as in the country, an idea of what it's really like. And so, I'm it's pretty cool to have a guy like Carl Goldman, to come on our show.
Yeah, it's great. We appreciate his time, and it's incredible. We'll take more of your phone calls on the other side of the break if you want to give us a buzz. How are you dealing with this coronavirus? How is it affecting you here in Las Vegas? You could be in Pahrump. You could be at Boulder City, wherever you are. How is this affecting you and your family? Is it affecting your relationship with your wife or husband? Is it affecting your relationship with close friends? How is it affecting your business? How is it affecting your employment? How is it affecting your bottom line? I think we had one person who called in who said he tried going to the bank and it wasn't even open today.
I'll tell you this, Brian.
So,
if this stimulus package does not get done soon, there will be some serious issues, not just in Las Vegas, but all over the country, especially amongst people who have been in the live entertainment space or who worked as a hostess or a bartender for a company that isn't backed by the government, that isn't probably going to get government bailout money like an MGM or a Sands. Someone who works for a company that doesn't have a ton of money, I think you'll see some serious issues taking place.
So we're going to talk
if
about
stimulus
this.
Checks don't come.
I wanted to take a break. I want to talk about that with you on the other side of the break. So we'll take a quick break. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of this conversation is 257-5396. I want to get to that with what JD was just talking about on the other side. Take a break. Be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
Maybe it's time to take a fresh look at everything we thought we knew about landing a great job. For instance, what if phenomenal careers start at the middle school science fair instead of at the job fair? If being the captain of the robotics team means just as much on a college application as being captain of the football team. And if knowing the quadratic formula is every bit as important as knowing the right people. Well, the fact is, the jobs of the future will be heavily geared towards science, technology, engineering, and math. In other words, the future is STEM. More opportunities, better pay. And the road to these great jobs starts as early as middle school. So if you're a student, talk to your school counselor about STEM. If you're a parent, talk to your kids. Because the job you'll get in the future may very well depend on what you do today. A public service message from America's Navy.
Las Vegas is glitz and glamour, but between neighborhood greenways and marquees lurks the tragedy of homeless veterans. Our nation's heroes who've ensured our freedoms, who haven't escaped the effects of war. Veterans Village is a place of hope, providing transitional housing, meals, and social services to homeless veterans. Veterans Village is a nonprofit that saves lives, but we need you. Please donate today at vvlv.org. That's vvlv.org.
Restrictions may apply. Plans and costs for coverage may vary. Call Protect My Car for details. These days, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a car, truck, or SUV made from 1999 or higher, you could stop paying for car repairs. That's right. You might not have to pay a penny to have it repaired. Just dial star 1244 on your mobile phone now to see if you qualify. You must have an automobile made from 1999 or higher, and all repairs for your engine, transmission, and much more can become a thing of the past. Dial star 1244 on your mobile phone today and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. That's right, total protection for your car and no more repair bills. Plus, free roadside assistance, free towing, free car rental, and free oil changes. Just dial star 1244 on your mobile phone now to see if your car qualifies. That's star 1244. Never pay for car repairs again. Just dial star 1244 on your mobile phone now. Dial star 1244.
Whoa, long time no see. It's me, the Rock t-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN, the talk of Las Vegas. Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. By the way, coming up here at the bottom of the hour, we're going to give you some Michael Avenatti news. That's right. He's speaking out So we will tell you exactly what he has to say, and it's very interesting, to say the least, about the conditions that he's in. And he actually is commenting on the coronavirus as well. We'll get to that. And the Review Journal is writing articles on mock basketball games. Folks, you can't make this stuff up. They're pretending like these NCAA tournament games happen, and one of their writers, I'm not even going to say his name, one of the writers from the Review Journal is actually writing articles on mock NCAA basketball games. You want to talk about one of the dumbest ideas I've ever heard in my life.
In great detail, I mean.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, how, I mean, you can't write about other stories that you have to write about fake basketball games.
This particular writer could actually write about sumo wrestling and have some familiarity with it.
Yeah, well, that's actually a good point.
Good.
That's actually
There's actually an article about sumo wrestling in the sports section.
Is there really? Yeah, there is.
That should be on the front page.
Yeah,
it was on the front page.
Yeah, there is.
It was.
All right, let's go.
Of the sports section.
Let's take some more phone calls. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Mark. Mark, you've been waiting very patiently on hold. Thank you. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Mark?
Good morning, you guys.
Hi, Mark. What's on? Go ahead.
Right now, I'm looking at a June 5th, 2019 CNN article on the H1N1, also known as the swine flu virus. Okay? And they stipulate on here human cases of H1N1 from April 09 to April 10. Fatalities in the United States, that's a one-year period. Estimated total is 2,469.
Yep.
Worldwide fatalities. A 2012 study estimated a range between 151,700 and 575,400 deaths. That's a pretty wide range, and take CNN for what they are. I frankly think that they're a Trump. They become a Trump-hating news.
Okay, but hold on. Let me hold on a second. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Let me just stop you there for a second. I agree with you that there are networks out there that are anti-Trump, but I'm sure you would agree with me that Fox News is very pro-Trump. So while CNN is anti-Trump, I just want to be fair here.
Yeah, but
hold on. Let me just ask him a question. Would you agree that Fox News is just as much as CNN is?
You're diverting from the real point. The real point is H1N1
Can I just ask him that question?
had 60 million people infected.
I'll answer the question.
Right.
Please do.
I'll answer the question.
Okay, go ahead.
I believe that Fox News is a conservative network. Okay, but Fox News, I find Fox News far more balanced.
Okay, so you're telling me after 5 p.m. you think, hold on, just for that, let's go with that for a second. You're telling me that Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, and Sean Hannity, you're talking to me about Mark Levin. And listen, these are some of the people. Mark Levin was on our radio show. I enjoyed having him on. But you're telling me those guys and, Chris Cuomo, you're saying that those shows on Fox News are fairer than CNN?
They're not journalists.
Okay, but we're talking about the network as a whole. I agree with you. They're not. But we're talking about the
opinion shows.
I agree with you.
I don't know. What's your name? I don't want to talk to you if I don't know your name.
Well, you should have known my name before you called up then.
Well, it's the first time I've even listened to you guys.
I'm messing with you. I'm joking around with you. My name is Brian. My co-host is JD. We appreciate you calling in.
Those guys are opinions. Those shows are opinions.
I agree. We don't disagree.
Getting back to the virus, though, okay? Can we get back to that?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. Where was the hype that you see today about this virus? Where was that same hype, that crazy, uncontrollable, that hype?
Why?
Who was president?
Because Trump wasn't president, right? And it wasn't an election year. Okay, and I've asked that question myself.
It's ridiculous.
On my personal Facebook account. I said, would all this reaction be taking place if Donald Trump were not president of the United States?
It's a completely ridiculous take.
I'm not sure I can answer that question either way.
Let me ask you a question. Were there antibiotics for the swine flu? Was there a cure? Were there drugs that they knew they could give people that could cure the swine flu?
I don't have any idea.
Well, I do. And this is what you're forgetting. We don't have a cure for the coronavirus, and you're saying because Donald Trump. Hold on a second. Hold on. Hold on.
Right, isn't the swine flu a virus?
Okay. The bottom line is you're trying to make this.
Cure viruses.
I'm talking to the caller and saying you're trying to make this about Donald Trump, and you're saying the reason why we're in this craze now is because Democrats and CNN and liberals are overdoing this thing. You're wrong. You're 100% wrong. You brought up the swine flu. Guess what? You're right. The swine flu was very serious, killed a lot of people. But the bottom line was there were answered questions to that virus. We have too many unanswered questions to this virus. And you're the one who brought up CNN, by the way, sir, not me. You're the one who said that CNN, they're just the fake news because you're listening to Trump. Fox News does the exact same thing. Fox News does the exact same thing that CNN does.
Since the flu is pretty much just a widely accepted sickness that happens once a year all over the world. If the swine flu was called swine 20 or the swine virus and not the swine flu, if the flu word was not attached to swine, would the reaction have been much more aggressive?
Ridiculous, because the flu is very different than the coronavirus, and you're not a doctor.
And you really can't. I'm just saying, you really can't argue with the numbers. The swine flu did kill significantly more people than the coronavirus has killed as of right now.
All right, we got to take a break.
The swine flu did kill 24 times the people that have died in the United States thus far, assuming that these numbers are correct.
We've got to take a break. But again, going to that last call and what you're saying, we're not doctors. I'm listening to the doctors and the experts. And it was himself, Dr. Fauci, who has been saying this for days, if not weeks, that this could be a far more serious situation than any flu, including the swine flu that we've ever had. Guess what? I'm going to listen to him, and I'm going to listen to what he says over somebody who calls into a radio station and is blasting CNN and thinks this is a conspiracy. Sorry, folks, but this is not the time for conspiracy theories. It's a time for facts, and we need to listen to our doctors. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll take some more of your phone calls. I know there's a lot of people waiting on hold. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, if you want to be a part of this conversation, 257-5396. We will get to that. And also, believe it or not, a guy that used to be on our show a lot, Michael Avenatti, who's now behind bars, a convicted felon, he is speaking out about the coronavirus. Harvey Weinstein, speaking of felons, has the coronavirus. We'll talk about that and take more of your calls on the other side of the break right here. You are listening to The Vegas Take. Be back right after this.
Special report coronavirus update. Still no deal on Capitol Hill on a $2 trillion economic shot in the arm for the nation. Correspondent Phil Manningly on the issues holding things up.
At the center of those holdups, I'm told, is a $500 billion loan proposal and loan guarantee proposal that's in the Republican bill up to this point. Democrats want more oversight of that proposal. They want less leeway for the Treasury Secretary to essentially decide who gets the money, how they get the money, who qualifies for that money.
Maryland Governor Larry Hogan is among the state leaders working to keep people home. Virginia Governor Ralph Northam has canceled schools for the rest of the school term. Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund says the pandemic will cause a severe global recession in 2020, but the IMF forecast a recovery for the world in 2021. On Wall Street, the Dow is down more than 500 points. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner and Rowe Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by Allstate. Watch for slowing for an accident. Injury sustained reported Sunset at Paradise Road. Another injury crash now reported Spencer at Deep Springs. That's just south of Windmill on Spencer. Expect slow and go in the area. Meanwhile, road work continues Las Vegas Boulevard, north of Sahara and before Oakey Boulevard. Avoid heavy delays. Take an alternate like Industrial or Maryland Parkway instead. With an Allstate agent, you get a local expert and help finding the best coverage for you. Plus, when you bundle home and auto, you can save. So call your local Allstate agent today. Are you in good hands? I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Hi, it's Alan Masters. Join me and my brother David for Advice Line, 10 to midnight, Monday through Friday on 720 KDON and 101.5 FM. That's Advice Line, America's live radio counseling program. If you've got problems, we've got answers. Monday through Friday, 10 to midnight.
Now is the time for peace of mind. If you need health insurance, you may be eligible for a qualified health insurance plan through Nevada Health Link. Enroll now through April 15th. Visit NevadaHealthLink.com/SEP or call 1-800-547-2927.
When times are tough, Vegas people stay Vegas strong. Yes, Air Conditioning and Plumbing is here with you and our community anytime you need us. Together we'll make it through, stronger than ever. Stay safe, Vegas.
This is Harry Jacobs from Credit Restoration of Nevada, inviting you to join me for the Credit Show, Saturday mornings between 9 and 10, here on the new 101.5 FM and 720 AM, KDON.
Coronavirus has brought significant disruption to daily life here in Las Vegas, and we here at KDON want you to stay safe, but at the same time, we want you to help these local businesses in our communities thrive. At KDON, we've set up Operation Gift Card to help local restaurants, bars, and businesses who offer gift cards on their websites. To find out how to purchase gift cards from these great businesses and more, visit our website at kdwn.com and search Operation Gift Card. Remember, we are all in this together.
5 people on hold, that's fine.
101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
There's too many men, too many people.
All right, welcome back. Nothing like a little Phil Collins to wake you up. Welcome back to the show. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Speaking of sleeping, a lot of people have been sleeping pretty late in the day. If they're not working, catching up on sleep, catching up at things at home. Maybe you could give me some advice instead of us trying to give you some advice. What have you been doing to kill time? 702-257-5396 is the number to call. We've had a lot of people waiting patiently on hold, so I want to get to as many as I can. Why don't we start with Scott? Scott, thanks for waiting. What's on your mind, my man?
Hey, what's up, Scott?
Oh, hey guys, I'm gonna try to say what I have on my mind without getting you mad. But I am, I'm Republican, and I don't really agree with a lot of Democrats. However, I do have to agree. I looked up the bill, and they turned it down the other day. There's one part in it that I don't agree with. That $1.3 billion is supposed to go to foreign countries. Right now, I think it ought to be cut in half. For foreign countries, we have to take care of the U.S. right off the bat. If anyone else needs money.
Can I ask you a question then? I agree with you, sure. And we agree. Let me ask you this question, Scott. What do you make of the president the other day, I believe it was Saturday, going on social media? The first country that he said he really wanted to help was North Korea. He made some comments about Kim Jong-un. That was the first comment that he made openly about assisting other countries. What do you make of that, him going out there as a Republican saying that he wants to help a country and an evil, murderous dictator?
I don't agree with probably 98% of his. I don't even do tweet. I'm not a tweeter, Twitter, whatever you guys want to call it.
Yep.
I don't agree with him. Being a president, I think that there are some things that's okay for him to tweet about, but there's other things that his opinion should be kept in his office with his entourage or whatever.
Sure.
That I think sometimes he oversteps his boundaries.
Yeah, we agree on that. You're one of those people that I would call a reasonable Republican, and I appreciate you being intellectually honest and saying that, because I think it's very dangerous and it sets a bad precedence when you say you want to help an evil, murderous dictator in his country. I think that's not the way to go about it.
Now, Scott, I don't really have an issue if that $1.3 billion is going to allies of the United States to try to to help them stop the virus spreading. Do you?
Well, but here's the problem. I mean, I've done a little bit of research. America gives, the U.S. gives so much money every year to all these other nations and everything, countries. I think really we need to cut everything in half for 1 year and work on getting different programs for the veterans, the homeless, women with children, and cut it in half of whatever we're funding.
And I can appreciate that, but having a $1.3 billion, we'll call it a stimulus package to other countries and that's kind of a heavy Liza Crown type. We've done that for a long time, but having that get in the way of getting all these unemployed people their stimulus checks, to me is pretty unreasonable.
Well, it goes to show you folks, and I'm going to attack both sides of the aisle on this. It goes to show you that our politicians are useless. They can't work together and pass this stimulus package in a time like this. They're never going to help us.
If it can't happen now, it's not going to take place, and there is no business for any bipartisanship or for any partisanship. It needs to be totally a bipartisan government. The government needs to be working together at this time.
The issues right now that my understanding from the Democrat side of things is that the Republicans are assisting more with corporations rather than everyday American people.
Corporations employ a lot of these people that are currently unemployed.
I understand that, but if you look at the actual specifics of the problems that some of the Democrats have in this bill that is put forth, the issues is that it's big business and big corporation, and they're not
I'm
doing
telling
enough
you,
to
if this,
help.
if this
us.
doesn't get passed in the next, we'll call it 5 to 7 days, I think you will start to see actual public unrest on a national level, especially in areas that are affected by this virus. Now, the one flip side to it is there's not a lot of places to spend your money right now. Like, it's hard for me to spend money at this point.
Brian, JD, from the breaking news desk, 2020 Tokyo Olympics have been postponed, likely until 2021. That message coming from the head of the Olympics.
Can you imagine?
Dick Pound.
Thank you for that. What's his name?
His name's Dick
His
Pound.
name is Dick Pound.
Yeah.
Are you sure that's not a porn star?
He should be a porn star.
Wait, hold on a second here. You're telling me that the guy who put this out, his name is Dick Pound?
That is correct.
Yes.
So if he
It's trending right now. Hashtag Dick Pound.
So if he lived in China, his name would be Pound Dick. Is that correct? Don't you flip your name in China? I don't know. I'll have to ask some of the good Chinese people about that. I don't know. Let's go back to
Just ask some of your dates.
Yeah, 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call, 257-5396. Let's go to James. James, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, James?
Hey, afternoon, sir. Hey, I'd like to two things. One, I think we kind of went overboard on how we've reacted and shut everything down. I mean, South Korea shut down very little bit, and they rounded up everyone without jobs, and they gave every 2 hours they're disinfecting all these public spaces. I don't understand why, for one,
Right, which is
they've
smart.
done that. And the second point is, we are freaking out so much about that this year, or drunk drivers killing people every day, or opioids.
Or heart disease.
Okay, here's my problem with what you're talking
Or
about.
cancer.
Okay, so here's my issue with what you're saying here. We don't have a cure for this virus, and there are a lot of unanswered questions. Now, yes, I understand, and I'm with you, and I've talked about drunk driving and opioids and all these issues. We've talked about it on this show. They're all very serious issues. The problem here, again, is we don't have a cure to this virus. And let me say this. I would rather it be an overreaction than an underreaction. What happens if we had the NCAA tournament, for example? What would have happened if 50 or 60? What would have happened? I'm just giving a hypothetical, if you don't mind. What would have happened if we had 50 or 60 athletes that contracted the coronavirus in the NCAA tournament? They were all fine. They ended up okay. But then they gave that coronavirus to maybe their parents or grandparents, and we had people die. What would have happened if these NBA players gave the... So, again, the point I'm trying to make is I would rather see an overreaction than an underreaction. Listen, make no mistake about it. This sucks, okay? This sucks for everybody. You think I enjoy being in my home 24/7? No.
I'm a Teamster. Yeah, I'm a Teamster, and I work as a driver in the convention industry. We went from potentially the biggest year ever to we have no idea what's going to happen within the next 6 months. So good thing I
Absolutely. And you know what else is getting destroyed? Insurance agents. Insurance agents who used to insure people who had jobs that are now unemployed. They're getting destroyed as well. Now, one country, the UK, Boris Johnson, the president of the UK, a couple of days ago, what he did was he identified all the high-risk groups that are most susceptible to the coronavirus. And he has recommended, in addition to a national lockdown, and he has recommended a 12-week quarantine for them in which the government will assist in providing them with groceries and essentials and everything medical and everything they need without actually having them leave the house. And I personally believe this virus is probably too far along. The spread is too far along to actually stop. And I think that would be the absolute best measure eventually once we realize that potentially millions of people have this virus. The majority of them who have it may have mild symptoms or zero symptoms.
Well,
and letting them get immune to it, and as well as protecting the high risk groups. You know, the ones that are going to actually end up in the hospital, that are going to take up the ICU beds, that are going to use the ventilators. Now, obviously, you're going to have a couple, fall through the cracks. I actually believe that if you've been vaping or smoking a lot of marijuana or smoking a lot of cigarettes, regardless of your age, you're going to be susceptible to this virus. I think that vaping,
because it's an irritant. It gives us something.
Exactly. Well, yeah, you're heating up chemicals in the back of your throat. Obviously, that's long term. That's not going to help your lungs. So I think you're going to see a lot of young people who have been habitual vapors that'll end up being negatively affected by this coronavirus. To the extent that they may die. But what Boris Johnson in the UK is doing, doing that 12-week quarantine after identifying the high risk groups, I think long term that's probably the best solution. But right now we kind of have to go with the flow.
And James, not to bring up a phrase of the sexual predator himself, Bill O'Reilly, but I will give you the last word. But I just want to say this real quickly, if I may. And I think you agree with me on this. Listen, there's a lot of people that are thinking like you. You're not the only one. There's a lot of people that think this could be an overreaction, and that's fine. At first, I thought it was an overreaction, but hold on. I know you're ready to just let me finish what I said. The thing is, James, is that, again, I'll say it again, I'd rather have an overreaction than an underreaction. So, James, do you understand where I'm going with this? We'll give you the last word here.
Oh, absolutely. But wait, I understand that the idea is to flatten the curve, and that 2 weeks or a month that they're giving us gives American industry time to gear up and produce everything we need. But I think after that, we need to start opening things up.
I totally agree with that. And if this stimulus package does not get passed, and a lot of these people who are unemployed do not get these checks, there will be a lot of issues across the United States. And I'm talking anywhere from could be home invasions, could be looting, could be riots in the streets. I mean, a lot of things are going to take place if that does not happen soon, in my personal opinion.
And now we're hearing some of these heartbreaking stories throughout the country. And a story that I want to bring up because it's emotional, it's horrible. A single mom of six kids she has. She beat stage 4 breast cancer. And we're learning that she has passed away from the coronavirus. There are going to be, sadly, many more stories like this, and it's heartbreaking. It's awful. I want what I would hope everyone else wants, and that's we want this taken care of. We want this virus cured as soon as possible. We want it out of the country and off the planet as soon as possible. I would rather have people inconvenienced. Our economy will get back. We have more money in this country than any other country in the world. Eventually, the economy will get back on pace. It'll happen. I'm not worried about that.
I will tell you this: if the stimulus packages get too big and too consistent, I'm talking between all the airlines, the casinos, the unemployed, et cetera, we could be talking $5 to $6 trillion in stimulus, and that's why Donald Trump, I think, made that tweet. He's now starting to see, wow, this is really starting to negatively affect the economy in a lot of ways, and we're going to have to give up. We're going to have to give out from our Federal Reserve.
Well, Howie's the president.
Give out a lot of money.
Let me just
to all these different people being adversely affected by it. Otherwise, we're going to have some serious problems. And is the total nationwide lockdown actually creating more problems than the virus itself? And that's a question that has to be answered in the next 10 to 14 days.
Well, you brought up the president, so I'm just going to say it. If he's just realizing it now and he didn't realize it 2 months ago, then there's something wrong with him. Just to kind of recap what we've been doing here in the breaking news, again, the Senate has failed to pass this coronavirus stimulus package. The drive-through testing has now been halted as staff have been overwhelmed, not just nationally, but right here in Las Vegas. Governor Sisolak signed this emergency directive to close non-essential businesses. That's not going away anytime soon. Nothing really is changing here. There's serious times, serious consequences, and we need to all take care of one another. We need to be human beings to one another. And while I dislike the president, I certainly hope that he shows the leadership that he should show in these hard times. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, there's some famous people behind bars right now that have contracted the coronavirus, including the sexual predator himself, Harvey Weinstein. We'll get to that. And someone who's appeared on this show many a time, certainly not recently because he's a convicted felon. Michael Avenatti speaking behind bars about what he's had to deal with in regards to the coronavirus and many, many other things. So we're going to talk about that coming up next, included with the Review Journal, some crazy articles that they've written in the Review Journal over the last couple of days, particularly in the sports section. So we'll take a quick break. We'll get back to those topics when we come back. You're listening to The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
Please listen, this is important. Anyone can be affected by the prescription opioid crisis. If you think you've been hurt by Purdue or its prescription opioids like OxyContin, you may be entitled to compensation as part of Purdue's bankruptcy, but you have to file a claim. Claims may include overdose, death, substance use disorder, lost wages, and neonatal abstinence syndrome. A confidential claim can be filed by individuals, a legal guardian, by survivors or relatives of people who have died or are disabled. The deadline to file a claim is June 30th, 2020, or you will lose your right to file a claim. For more information, visit PurduePharmaClaims.com, or you can call toll-free 1-844-217-0912. That's 1-844-217-0912. Paid for by Prime Clerk, LLC.
I'm Ben Utek. I played high school, college, and pro football, helping my team win the 2006 championship. It was an amazing day, but it can't compare to the joy I feel every day with my loving wife and 3 beautiful daughters. My football career ended after I suffered my 5th concussion. Did you know that over 1 million athletes suffer a concussion each year? That includes boys and girls, every age, every type and level of sport. It isn't always clear that a player has had a concussion, so parents, athletes, and coaches need to learn about concussion signs and symptoms. The American Academy of Neurology recommends athletes thought to have a concussion be immediately removed from play and not returned until assessed by a healthcare professional trained in concussion. This isn't just about sports. It's about your brain. When in doubt, sit it out. Learn more at aan.com/concussion. That's aan.com/concussion. A message from the American Academy of Neurology.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. By the way, quick note. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to be getting a Metro public information officer coming on our show. Are they worried about vandalism? Are you arresting people for prostitution and those sorts of things? A lot of questions we need to ask Metro because I'm sure they've been very busy over the course of the last days, weeks, and they're going to be pretty busy for the next month. No question about that. Also, we are going to be having a state senator join us on the show as well tomorrow. State Senator Picard is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. So plenty of questions to get to him, and we will obviously always keep our phone lines open for you because this show is more important. It's about you than about us. So we will certainly continue to broadcast live throughout this horrible situation. Speaking of horrible situations, Michael Avenatti hasn't exactly been in the best of situations. Of course, he is the former attorney to Stormy Daniels. Many Democrats thought several years ago that he was going to be a great pick for president of the United States. Well, now he's a convicted felon behind bars, but we haven't heard from him, right? We haven't heard directly from Michael Avenatti. Well, he has written an open letter to the general public, and Jason Stein, our producer, is here to talk a little bit about that. Stein, what you got for us?
There's a couple new things on Avenatti. He's been in that MCC lockup for about a month now. He's awaiting now trial on the other case, the Stormy Daniels case, also in New York. And so while he's there, the Washington Post got a hold of a letter that he apparently, or that his attorney wrote, talking about the conditions in his cell. Not too pleasant. Apparently, his lawyer is saying that inmates there are lacking the soap and hot water to wash their hands, and that they face deplorable conditions. Avenatti's cell was infested with rats, and the facility itself reeks of urine. So quite a lifestyle change for Avenatti there. I know some of our listeners will think that's funny and think that he's getting what he deserved. But anyway, that's apparently what he's dealing with. Now, on top of that, a federal judge in Santa Ana, California, has denied Avenatti's request to be released on bail, saying that he is especially vulnerable to the coronavirus while awaiting trial there. A judge has said, no, you got to stay put. Now, the basis for the request is that Avenatti had pneumonia a couple weeks back. Now, on top of that, on top of being his immune system being weakened, he apparently has a cellmate that fell ill and appeared to be having symptoms similar to the coronavirus, and that man has not, to Avenatti's attorney's knowledge, been tested. So he's got this underlying pneumonia. He's got a cellmate that's also sick, and they're already in these deplorable conditions without soap and water. So they asked the judge to let him out. The judge said no go. So again, something that may become as good news to some of those Avenatti haters out there.
Those conditions are absolutely brutal. And listen, if we were talking about a murderer, a rapist, a pedophile, I wouldn't feel bad for them. But, Paul Manafort was in that jail too, and I took his side on this.
Yeah.
I'll take Paul Manafort's side just like I take Michael Avenatti's side. These are white-collar criminals. They should not be treated the way they are treated. They should not be in these types of conditions, period.
And then you have Harvey Weinstein, who was actually walking around at his trial, basically trying to look feeble, more or less. But he actually does have the coronavirus. He's tested positive, and he's at Rikers Island. And considering he definitely has underlying health conditions, he obviously isn't in the best of health. I believe he's got heart issues. But that's not looking good for Harvey Weinstein either.
There's a guy that I wouldn't feel bad about.
No, I don't know. And honestly, you look at what Richard Burr did, the senator from North Carolina, who had a net worth of about $1.8 million, found out about what was going on in that private Senate meeting, sold off $1.6 million of his net worth just a fire sale over the course of 3 or 4 days on a series of trades, and then reassured the American people to make sure that his stock was intact so we could actually get rid of it without watching it, drop drastically. In my opinion, Richard Burr, what he did was 50 times worse than what Michael Avenatti ever did. And a guy like Richard Burr should be in the situation that Avenatti is in and not vice versa. And the fact that there's rats and it's cold and there's no soap and water, of course he's going to get sick in there. And he's definitely susceptible to the coronavirus. And he should be considered a high-risk group, considering that the fact that he just had the pneumonia and his possible cellmate has it as well. There should be a public outcry about this. Avenatti should be tested.
Well,
everybody in there should be tested.
On a side note, when I heard of living conditions, rats smelling like urine, I've talked to some people that described Stein's apartment like that. So I thought they were talking about his apartment.
I thought they were talking about your old car.
Well, that could have been possible too. But in all seriousness, you're right. I agree with you. These conditions, and you're right. What this senator did is 50 times, whatever you want to say.
Significantly
It's
more
much worse. You're
Absolutely.
right. Worse than what Paul Manafort did, worse what Michael Avenatti did. I'm taking both their sides on this. It's inexcusable.
It's up there near to what Weinstein did.
But that
to
is
all
the
those women,
point I
in my
make
opinion.
earlier, is that these senators, they were in these closed-door meetings. They knew what was coming. So you're telling me the president didn't know what was coming?
That wasn't 2 months ago. That was 1 month ago.
Okay, you're telling me the president 1 month ago didn't know what was coming? It's ludicrous. But let's move on. There's a lot of media outlets, a lot of sports radio hosts that are struggling for content. We've talked about that in these difficult times. The Review-Journal is struggling for content when it comes to the sports section. On the front page, they did an article on sumo wrestling. But now Adam Hill with the Review-Journal, who I believe is writes about the MMA. I've never read one of his articles on the MMA, but I guess that's what he writes about. He has a dedicated section of the newspaper where he put a mock NCAA tournament. I guess he thinks he's funny. I don't think it's funny. I think it's pathetic. He's actually going into depth, Stein, right? Correct me if I'm right, talking about these fake games that took place and actually writing articles about them, which I find to be fascinating that the Review-Journal can't write better articles than that.
Is he at least putting these games into call it a video game and doing a simulation, or is or is this all just manufactured in his mind?
He's manufactured a what if tournament. So obviously right now is the time when we'd be in full swing, right, with the brackets. Everyone would be filling out the brackets. And we don't have that, obviously. So Adam Hill has dreamed up what he thinks would happen with all these individual matchups based on, of course, absolutely nothing. Now, I still get the physical paper delivered to my door. I grab it. I go into the toilet. That's what I do first thing in the morning.
Morning constitutional.
I'm where I grab the sports section and I go in the toilet and I read Adam Hill.
I respect that a lot.
And I'm going, and I look at this, and I have to say, I mean, they're writing it with such detail and with such authenticity. I actually thought for a minute, like I was Rip Van Winkle, and I fell asleep for however long, 100 days, and woke up, and like the tournament was back on, because I open up the paper, and it says, Blue Devils feel bite of spiders. And I went, what the hell happened? Is the tournament on? This is so legit.
So you're saying he has Richmond upsetting Duke?
Correct. So Duke. So here's the article. Duke misses 2 late free throws in loss to Richmond, and he's writing this as it's an actual article in great depth about the players having how many points they scored.
I got an idea.
What the final score was.
I got an idea. How about Adam? You do what a normal journalist would do and actually write a real article. Why don't you reach out to Mike Krzyzewski? Why don't you reach out to some of these college athletes, these seniors, their postseason was robbed? Why don't you do real articles instead of pretending like, thinking like you're funny and writing these articles on fake games?
I'll tell you what should be on the front page. A long article about Dayton and where Dayton was at. I mean, they were 1,000-1 at the beginning of the year. They were number 3 in the country before all this happened. They were destroying everybody. They went undefeated in the A10. Obi Toppin probably going to be the second pick in the NBA
I'll tell you what
draft.
I'd like to do.
I would love to hear about how Dayton, how their coach, and how their players feel about how they were literally, because they'll never get this up. They'll never get an opportunity like this again.
Well, I'll tell you what I'd like to do.
This could have been one of those years
where
a Butler type of team like a Dayton could have actually won the
Well,
national championship.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a mock media bracket. What life would be like without some of these people in Las Vegas writing stupid articles like Adam Hill. My first bracket is Adam Hill versus Ed Graney. That'll be my first bracket. Who wins that one? Who wins that one? JD, who wins it?
That's actually really hard.
Is the winner the person that
keeps his job?
That keeps his job.
Yeah.
So if you choose Ed Graney would stay with the newspaper, but Adam Hill would be in unemployment.
Honestly,
exactly.
I'm probably going to go with Adam Hill.
You'd rather have Adam Hill.
I think I would.
Really?
Honestly, that's a lot of imagination.
Well, it's kind of like writing horoscopes, like where you have to make something up.
The guy
every
is
day.
clearly very creative. He's very passionate about sports. I appreciate how much he knows about the teams. I can respect that.
I don't think that's creative.
How is that not, Brian?
It's pure fiction.
So how is it not creative? Of course it's creative.
Well, I want to read actual news when I open the paper.
I bet he had a great imagination as a child. I bet he played with dinosaurs and imaginary friends, et cetera, et cetera. So I actually would go with Adam Hill over Ed Gray.
I think he still plays with dinosaurs.
That's very possible.
Yeah, I think he still does. All right. Well, we disagree on that one. Your definition of imagination is a little different from mine. Do you have any hate mail, by the way, Stein?
I do. I got like 2 minutes for hate mail. Hang on a second. I got a couple here. One viewer writes, "It's been confirmed that Brian's whiny, annoying voice kills most viruses."
It doesn't kill the virus of stupidity. You're a perfect example of that. Go ahead, Stein.
JD doesn't even look like himself today. He has always had those mutton chops. His face is bloated, combined with greasy bedhead. What the hell is going on here?
See, I could laugh at that. That's funny. Because they're not making fun of me. They're making fun of you. So that's very funny to me.
Keep that going.
All right, we got about 90 seconds here. Hi, guys. How are you? I'm concerned because Brian's creep factor is off the charts today. Is he doing that on purpose?
Did you say today?
No, today.
Oh, okay.
Is creep factor is off the charts. Is this done on purpose? Hashtag so confused.
Well, no, I'm just wearing a bathrobe in my kitchen just to be attractive. What do you think, idiot? Of course I'm having fun with this.
Okay.
In times that are very serious, I'm having fun. In fact, I'm not going to clean my apartment, and I'm just going to the trash is going to pack up and
it is. It's all piled up, but it's behind AOC cutout, so you can't see it.
Exactly.
Tanya writes, senior year of high school, Brian was voted, quote, most likely to turn women gay. 1 minute ago.
It's not true, actually.
I believe that.
It's not true.
Sally writes, I love Brian, but then again, I love diarrhea.
Who loves diarrhea?
Sally.
Who would love that? That's disgusting.
Norman writes, Brian is a pig and he grosses me out. Get him off the air.
Yet he continues to watch on our YouTube page.
Is that hashtag get Brian off the air?
Yeah, hashtag
okay,
get Brian.
Okay, good.
So I do appreciate that people are still, even in these terrible times, sending their hate mail.
All right, we got to go. We got to
with the terrible audio as well.
All right, we got to go. We got to take a 21-hour break, folk. We will be back right at you 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all the calls. We will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. The man himself, Sean Hannity, is coming up next.
Your home for Sean Hannity. KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Special report coronavirus update. Political bickering in Washington while the nation looks desperately